Chapter 1. Body data scan completed, consciousness is being uploaded. The emotionless female robot voice is transmitted to the brain through the game helmet, and the all-round surround sound gives people an immersive feeling. This is the experiential game of virtual reality. After the progress bar reached 100%, the game prompt sound came again. Player Sigli Hrasberg, welcome back to the world of Yggdrasil. I wish you a pleasant gaming time. As the AI disappeared, a countdown appeared below the viewing angle. Only the cold wind whistled past my ears, and the sky was covered by thick black clouds. This is the cold world of Helheim's eternal night, where the great underground tomb of Nazarick is located, and the main activity site of the Ainz Guild. It looks deserted, but it is actually a very lively place. Some players are like crazy, always liking to attack Nazarick as if it were a demon cave. I remember that the largest scale of the crusade reached thousands of people, and the result was naturally that all the invaders were wiped out. Ainz once again created a brilliant record. Sig's thoughts gradually drifted away, recalling the scenes of 3 years. The following is a memory: many people had gathered in Nazarick's conference room, and from time to time, there were sounds of heated arguments. Albert, we should prioritize dealing with Flame Surut. This was decided a few days ago. Takamai, wearing silver-white armor, argued righteously. Albert looked relaxed. Otherwise, Tachi is always willful. If we don't hunt the frost dragon, we won't be able to meet the special job transfer requirements of some members. It's you who is being willful. We can't just focus on efficiency. I didn't. It started again. This thought appeared in the minds of the people around them. The quarrels between the two have become commonplace. If it weren't for the game, they would probably have helpless expressions on their faces. Unfortunately, even the top DMM games today are still technically unable to make the characters' expressions change according to their emotions. Even the currently most popular Yggdrasil is no exception. Yggdrasil, also known as the World Tree, attracted widespread attention as soon as it was released, and attracted countless players with its wide map and high degree of freedom. There are hundreds of races for players to choose from in the game, which are mainly divided into 3 categories: human race, subhuman race, and alien race. Different races also have different characteristics. Humans do not have racial professions, so they have the most professions to choose from and have more possibilities. Demi-humans are between aliens and humans, with more balanced attributes and excellent talents in all aspects. Among them, aliens have the most advantages. Not only do they have special racial abilities, but also the highest attribute bonuses brought by upgrades. In order to maintain the fairness of the game, the alien species also have the most restrictions. On the one hand, they are ugly in appearance, and on the other hand, they have obvious racial weaknesses. For example, the undead are afraid of the sacred attribute. Among them, the most outrageous thing is that hunting alien species is a condition for transferring to certain powerful professions. In the early stage of the game, most alien players were bullied to the point of quitting the game, and the rest retreated to the 3 worlds that were beneficial to alien species. Everyone present had a deep understanding of this. Most of them were victims at the time. The fact that the guild only accepted alien species was also related to this. Of course, this is all a story for later. Calm down, all of you. Guildmaster Flying Squirrel felt helpless but secretly happy about the noise in front of him. He liked the current atmosphere very much, so he did not stop it immediately, but just persuaded the 2 of them from the side. Bite. A bright light flashed, and a figure covered in a faint glow appeared in the conference room. His entire body was wrapped so tightly that his race could not be determined at all. Only those equipped with the guild ring can teleport freely in Nazarick. The ring is a non-droppable item, so the person coming is obviously not an outsider. Hey, Sig, long time no see. The speaker was a Birdman player with golden light all over his body. His name was Pararon Sino, and he was also Momanga's good friend. Long time no see, Pararon Sino. The player called Sig nodded, and the name of Sigris Hrasvalk on the guild member list lit up. Momanga asked with concern, "You haven't been online much lately, Sig-san." "Well, I am indeed a bit busy." Takamai should have mentioned it. Takamai did say that. Is it really because of work? If there is anything else, you must tell me. Takamai is a very reliable friend. You can't say that you are making money crazily just for in-game purchases, because that would definitely make you look like a lunatic, Sig thought. Since the other party asked, he took the opportunity to explain. The specific reason was that he had changed his job and had no time to play games. In fact, there was nothing new about it. As a fellow office worker, Manga expressed his understanding and comforted him softly, "Pay more attention to rest." Sig typed a smiley face, and a friendly laugh came out through the voice, "I'm fine, President. If I can live until the day the game is shut down, my life will be complete." Almost no one would take this statement seriously, as everyone had their own lives to live. Even Manga, who cherished the game the most, thought it was a joke. Hopefully that day will never come. "President, you are too gentle." Sig did not explain further, but instead said a teasing remark in a serious tone. As for his real thoughts, no one should know. Perhaps because he was too focused on the quarrel, after chatting for a while, Albert noticed Sig's presence and shouted in surprise, "You are finally online." Facing the demon that kept laughing strangely, Sig asked helplessly, "What happened?" "We are discussing hunting first. I want to hunt the dragon first, but Tachi has different ideas. He always goes against me." He was very happy to see his friend Albert, but he couldn't help but complain a few times, "You've been online too little recently, I can't find where you are." Sig was very sure that the person who was singing the opposite tune was not Takamai. Although they had not been together for a long time, he and Albert had been friends online for many years in a sense. It was difficult to go through all the chat records at once, and even the current game name was chosen with the help of the other party. Although he really wanted to be a bystander and watch the show, one was an online friend of many years and the other was a real friend, so it was difficult for him to stay out of it. The only thing to be thankful for is that Takamai is more reasonable and Albert knows when to stop. If the two of them were really incompatible, the three of them would have ceased to be friends long ago. "We were indeed arguing about this matter." Takamai paused, "But now that you are here, we can discuss it again." Kurohiro said weakly, "Sig is the dragon rider, let's go hunt the dragon first." There was almost no rebuttal to this statement, and of course, they did not mean to target Takamai. If Takamai has the strongest overall combat power and Albert has the highest magic output, then Sig is the hexagonal warrior who slays dragons. Just like Momanga's passion for necromancers, Sig has a deep obsession with slaying dragons, as if dragons are his only enemies. His profession, Dragon Knight, can grant dragon species special attack buffs and also activate many related skills. It is a very rare special enhanced profession. Although it is a game for entertainment players, Sig's strength is considered to be above Ainz gowns. Because of the complex professional structure, the race has a great advantage and can be competent in most positions. With full equipment, it can even compete with Takamai. It also has large-scale annihilation magic. What was the final result? It seemed that after defeating the dragon, they conquered Surat, and everyone was laughing happily in the end. It's been a while, and Sig can hardly remember it. After all, 3 years have passed. Time flies. Almost all of my companions have quit the game. The official has taken continuous measures to increase player retention, but it was useless. This once most popular game has come to the end of its life. The day finally came, and Sig couldn't help but sigh, the server is finally shut down. Chapter 2. Strictly speaking, the current Sig is actually a time traveler, occupying a shell and entering this body at the moment of the original body's sudden death. From then on, a soul from the modern world became Tomokonoshi of the dystopian world, and he is also Sig in the game. Except for Albert, everyone habitually calls him Sig, and he himself prefers this name to his Japanese name. During the time when he first traveled through time, Sig was very cautious. Since he had no memories of the original owner, he stayed at home and dared not go out. He could only get information through the internet. Fortunately, his interpersonal relationships are not complicated. He has no relatives, was just fired from the company, and doesn't even have a pet. He only has one online friend. With the help of the information in the chat records, he quickly became familiar with this netizen, and it was he who pulled him into playing Yggdrasil in the first place. Even the name of the game was chosen with the help of the other party. It is said that it was based on Norse mythology, and the other party named it Albert. In order to avoid repeating the same mistake, he exercised to get into better shape and found a job as an auxiliary police officer. As a former office worker, Sig was able to handle his job easily and play games smoothly in his spare time. During a chat with my police partner, I learned that he was also playing the same game, so I added him as a friend. By the way, his game name is Takamai. Albert and Takamai, these two names are really familiar. When Sig searched for the release information of Yggdrasil on the internet, he felt something was wrong. After some investigation, he finally understood where he had traveled to. This is a novel called Overlord, which tells the story of Momonga's adventure across the alien world with the Great Tomb of Nazarick at the last moment of the Yggdrasil server shutdown. Sig likes the adapted anime very much and knows the plot of the original novel very well. I hadn't thought about it in this regard before, but after I figured it out, it all became clear to me. The current timeline is just before the time travel. Living in this devastated world, office workers are truly office workers. Knowledge monopoly, environmental pollution, rampant corruption, and even having to wear a gas mask when going out are all things that no normal person can tolerate. Therefore, it was inevitable that Sig chose to follow the flying squirrel through time. As for other guild members, he couldn't care too much. Besides, if he really said anything, he would be regarded as a lunatic. Most people would only think that office workers who are obsessed with playing games will do anything to get their companions online. We are all adults and have our own lives. There is no need to interfere in the cause and effect of others. Ding, the time now is 23:50. It's about time. Sig took the guild ring from his backpack, teleported to the 10th floor of the Great Tomb, and then walked to the throne room. Possessing the ring of Ainz gown, one can teleport freely to most places in Nazarick, but the throne room is not within this range. Because he is too busy with work, he can only go online 10 minutes early so he won't miss it. Stepping into the throne room, Sig raised his hand in greeting. "I'm sorry, President. I'm late. Has everyone left?" He paced forward, and the sound of the metal armor hitting the ground was very realistic, just like in reality, giving people a great sense of reality. Looking around, the entire throne room only had Momonga and a group of kneeling NPCs at. "Sig-san, I thought you weren't coming." Momonga's hand was still on the open settings panel. He looked so flustered, as if he was doing something bad. Sig naturally knew what Momonga was going to do secretly, and teased, "Do you want to change the settings?" "Just a look." "Sig-san, what do you think of Albedo?" Momonga awkwardly changed the subject. "She's a good woman, and a great wife." Sig said this, but in his heart he was thinking that he was not worthy of it, so he should let Faisha bear it all. Momonga seemed to glance at Sig, then typed a few words on the settings panel. "It's shameful to change it to loving yourself, but others won't, so let him make a prank on his companions for the last time." Sig thought it was done, and immediately changed the subject. "I remember a scene like this when we conquered Nazarick. It makes me miss it a little." Momonga asked, "Sig-san, I thought you were not coming because of something." Kurohiro just went offline a few minutes ago." "Really? What a pity. I thought everyone who hasn't quit the game would be online." Sig said helplessly, "If that's the case, then only the two of us will be there to witness it to the end." "How are Takamai and Albert doing lately?" Not sure if it was because he felt guilty or because the atmosphere was too depressing, but Momonga quickly changed the subject. "I don't know. We haven't been in touch for a long time." Sig thought for a moment and felt that the salary of auxiliary police was a bit disappointing. In order to earn more money, he switched to a more lucrative job. As a result, I had less contact with Takamai, and after he quit the game, there was no longer any channel for communication between us, and we gradually became estranged. The same goes for Albert. Even if they have been friends online for many years, it is difficult to maintain the relationship when they have no common topics. He does not have the money and energy to play new games. Apart from the necessities of life, he put all his remaining money into Yggdrasil, and eventually became a heavy spender who surpassed Momonga. Sig is equipped with all the Krypton gold equipment and is ready to welcome the new world. Momonga felt a pang of bitterness in his heart, and for a moment he was glad that he was not the only one who was lonely. He suddenly felt better, but he also felt that it was too despicable to think so. He glanced at the guild scepter that was the result of everyone's hard work, and said sincerely, "Thank you, Sig. You have worked hard during this period. Don't be so polite. This is all my job." Sig smiled and stood at the steps of the throne. In the last month before the server was shut down, there were only 2 people in the entire guild who were online permanently. Flying Squirrel is the type that is always active, while Sig often disappears for a while, but is never absent at critical moments. Because of his activeness, the guild's ranking has basically remained in the top 10. After a brief chat, the two fell into silence tacitly. The time in the upper right corner of their vision was ticking slowly, showing 23 hours 59 minutes and 50 seconds, with only 10 seconds left before the server was shut down. Faishu's mind was filled with thoughts, and when he thought about having to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow, he sighed deeply. Sig stared at the countdown, tapping his armor rhythmically with his fingers, hoping that time would pass faster. 52. 56. 59. 1 second. Oh, has the official server shutdown been delayed? Where's the control panel? GM communication is also unavailable, and I can't contact the operations. Sig suddenly opened his eyes, and a red light flashed under his helmet. While the flying squirrel was stunned, he quickly felt the changes in his body. It is this sense of reality, the keen five senses, the feeling of freely controlling the body. This is not a game character, but a real body. Bang! In the huge hall, a clear sound was like thunder, and the HP 0 prompt appeared on the ground. Sig stood up awkwardly and almost fell down. He was speechless. Sebastian, who was closer, asked with concern, "Lord Sigris, what's wrong with you?" At that moment, everyone in the Pleiades maid group also looked over. Albedo acted as if she was frightened. A succubus specialized in defense actually looked a little fragile. This is so weird. Shouldn't he be very angry at this time when he did such disrespectful behavior in front of Faishu? Is he tolerating it because of his supreme status? It's okay, just a little surprised. Sig calmly put away his tail. It seemed that he couldn't control his new body immediately. "President, have we traveled through time?" "Sig-san, why are you suddenly saying this in such a serious tone? It feels so weird. I am discussing this matter very seriously. What should I do next?" Hearing their conversation, Albedo blushed and fluttered her wings, looking like she wanted to say something but didn't dare. "Master Momanga, Master Sig. Master Sigris, please forgive me for not being able to explain what time travel means." Momanga sighed, "It's all right, Albedo. I'll ask you about it later." It felt strange to be treated so respectfully suddenly. He was just a small clerk and had never seen such a scene before. Sig must have felt very uncomfortable. He's happily chatting with the NPC? I'll go out and do some reconnaissance, then share my vision with you and test your abilities. I'll leave the rest to you. After getting some information, Sig turned to Momanga and said. Momanga thought for a few seconds and nodded slowly, "Well, be safe. Although safety is the top priority, the target will be too big if two people are together. If they are suddenly attacked, the other person can still provide support. The most important thing now is to collect intelligence." Sig used teleportation magic to disappear from the spot. Momanga gave orders to the NPCs, and the Great Tomb of Nazarick quickly took action. "Lord Sig." Albedo hesitated, her golden eyes revealing complicated emotions. Chapter 3. Looking around, the environment around Nazarick has indeed changed a lot. The desolate land of eternal night has been replaced by an endless grassland, and the clear sky is full of shining stars. Sig's eyes widened slightly. Whether in the game or in the modern world where he used to live, it was difficult to see such scenery, not to mention the place where one had to wear a gas mask when going out. I lifted my helmet and took a breath of fresh air. I could smell the mixed scent of soil and grass. It felt so real. It would be foolish to still be concerned about whether or not he had traveled through time, as this was not something that could be achieved through games, but he was very curious about how Momanga's skeleton body worked. "Hello, can you hear me?" "What's wrong, Momanga?" "Ah, it actually connected. You must be Sig, right?" "It's me. I'm sorry, not the GM. Don't joke around now. What is the situation around Nazarick like?" Sig closed one eye, and a black spherical object appeared floating in the air next to the flying squirrel, with an eye-shaped pattern printed on it. "Sharing vision, it's a bit of a problem, you can see for yourself." The scene before him made Faishu fall into silence. He believed that what he saw was an illusion, but he knew that it was most likely true and he really wanted to escape from reality. Sig gave Faishu some time to digest the information without any long-winded complaints. After ending the communication, he stayed here quietly for a while alone and admired the scenery. Until a slight noise came from behind, his sharp ears moved and he noticed something obviously different. "I think that with the NPC's strength, it would not reveal such a big flaw. It is very likely that he was let know on purpose, so let's just go with it." "Who?" "As expected of Lord Sigli, you easily saw through my concealment." Sig was puzzled, but didn't show it. If you want to blame someone, blame this body for being too sensitive. The five senses are probably too strong. Sebastian, wearing a modified tuxedo, walked out from the shadows, half of his face covered by the shadows. Albedo asked my subordinates to protect your safety. Please forgive me for following you without your permission. So cautious because he was afraid that he would run away? But when I think of Albedo's love for Momonga, maybe she wanted to establish more authority, but Sig didn't care anymore and just regarded it as a child's play. Apart from Lubed, he is the one with the strongest overall strength in Nazarick now. These little actions will add a lot of fun to the boring life of playing badly. Sig said calmly, I forgive you. Sebastian bowed slightly and said calmly and forcefully, thank you very much. Sebastian, I remember you are also a dragon man, and you can control your human form very well. The speaker may not mean it, but the listener may take it seriously. A drop of cold sweat ran down Sebastian's forehead. He looked calm on the outside but a little panicked inside. He went through a brainstorming session in just a few seconds. Lord Sigris, everything I have is given by the Supreme Being. Your attitude is the most perfect. No, I'm complimenting you. Too honest, seems even simpler than Takamai. The NPC's justice value has a great influence on its character, but fortunately the player itself will not be affected too much. Sig's justice value barely reached a positive number, which was in the neutral range, and was also within the normal range. It would be very disturbing if it were completely lost and became a completely unsympathetic existence. Sig turned around and murmured, his tone somewhat disappointed, forget it, I was going to ask you about your secret, but I didn't expect that Takamai would set it up like this, it's really simple and crude. In the moonlight, an inhuman face appeared, with dark skin covered with fine scales, eyes with golden vertical pupils like animals, and the original whites of the eyes were also pitch black, not to mention the two pairs of horns buried deep in the silver-grey hair. Sebastian asked in surprise, what do you look like now? Some alien species have different forms, and Dragon Man is one of them. Their forms are weakened when they are in human and half-human form, and enhanced when they are fully alienated. In Sebastian's impression, Sig was always dressed in armor, even after just finishing a battle. He naturally thought that Sig was a dragon man like the other supreme beings. It's a half-human form. I intentionally suppressed my power. There are many reasons for this. Sig tentatively moved his scaly tail, and the tip of the tail swayed slightly. He felt more at ease now that he could control it. The dragon people's racial abilities are very strong, they have almost comprehensive resistance, and there are no restrictions on their professions. The only drawback is that they have too few equipment slots, which is also the most uncomfortable racial penalty. Although it is possible to expand the equipment column by reducing one's own strength, it is difficult to perfectly maintain the human form. If you release your power and transform into a dragon man, you can hardly equip any weapons, so it is best to maintain a half-baked state. Sebastian follows the path of a monk, so there is no need to worry about that. In fact, most dragon players are like this too. But in order to become a top player and take into account both dragon slaying and PvP, you have to consider many aspects. Sig joked, Takamai once advised me not to train my race too high, but I ended up reaching level 50 by accident. Normal players have a 40:60 ratio between their racial level and professional level. It's rare to see a 50:50 ratio like Sig, so it's appropriate to call him a specialized race. Lord Takamai. Sebastian showed a curious look, and just when he was about to continue asking, an angry voice interrupted him coldly. Sebastian, what are you doing? Both of them are wearing suits, but Sebastian is a noble gentleman butler, while Demiurge, who is a demon, gives people a completely different feeling. In comparison, he is more like an elite who shuttles between workplaces, with a typical oriental face. But these external things cannot conceal his evil temperament, and one can feel that he is a treacherous devil. But in reality, demons are one of the races that are most committed to their promises. Demiurge offered his loyalty as soon as he came up. Lord Sigris, Lord Momonga is summoning the Guardians to gather at the arena on the 6th floor. Do you want to go with him? Gathering together means loyalty. This should be the order that has just been issued. I don't think there is much to say. It's better not to get involved. Sig calmly refused, no, I have more important things to do. I believe President Momonga can handle it alone. Oh, is it because of that? If it weren't for his quick reaction, Sig would have almost shown the same expression as Sebastian. Wouldn't it be more important to explore the surrounding environment? Demiurge pondered for a moment and said respectfully, however, given the current situation, ensuring the safety of the Supreme Being is the most important thing. Please allow me to spend some time clearing the obstacles in the other world, and you don't need to do it yourself. Sig was choked. This progress was a bit too fast. In the eyes of the NPCs in the Great Tomb, what on earth was he doing when he often disappeared? He was just working overtime to earn money to charge the game. However, in the eyes of the Guardians, it seems that he is indeed doing a great feat similar to conquering the world. Sig felt that he needed to confirm, is this your own idea, Demiurge? Demiurge said calmly, yes, please don't worry. My creator, Albert-sama, knows you best. Sebastian should admit this. Although Lord Sigli has never revealed his ambitions, he can still get a glimpse of them with his shallow wisdom. Hearing this, Sig relaxed slightly, fortunately only one guardian thought so. Wait, that's because it's Demiurge. He's a real doer and he'll really do it when something happens. Sig covered his face at the thought. Lord Takamai has a pretty good relationship with Lord Sigli, so is it unfair to say that? Sebastian frowned, feeling a bit jealous. Do you have any other ideas? Okay, both of you stop arguing. Sig was very sure that Xiaodai said that in front of Sebastian on purpose. The relationship between the two was simply a perfect inheritance of the creator. They were all friends' children, so naturally they couldn't favor one over the other. They should just try to reconcile. Yes. You don't have to follow me. Now is the time when Nazarick needs you. I will go there after I finish my work. Don't keep President Momanga waiting too long. Sig smiled, revealing his sharp teeth. Although it looks a bit hideous, in the eyes of the Guardians it is the best response to them and is more effective than stimulants. Demiurge placed his hand on his chest and said sincerely, Lord Sigli, thank you very much for thinking of your subordinates. It is the greatest honor for us Guardians to be able to put our meager strength to use. Sebastian immediately agreed. After watching Sig's figure disappear from sight, Sebastian couldn't help but ask, why don't you let me protect the safety of Lord Sigris? Sebastian, do you think the Supreme One needs you to follow him? Making the Master feel comfortable is the most important thing. Demiurge pushed up his glasses and smiled confidently, and didn't Lord Sigli say he would come find us? Sebastian was a little confused and felt a little bad. He hated people who kept things in suspense the most, especially when this person had a grudge against him. I always feel that Lord Sigli is a little different. That sir is certainly special, but the one we are supposed to assist is Master Momanga. You'd better learn to hide your emotions, don't make things difficult for Master Sig, and don't casually mention the Supreme who abandoned us. Everyone can say compliments, but some things should be kept deep in your heart. After all, Lord Momanga is the commander of the Supreme Being and is recognized by Lord Sigli. As his subordinates, they must be careful with their words and actions. As an NPC also created by Lord Sigli as friend, he felt that Sebastian should remember this point more, so he spoke out to remind him that others might not receive such treatment. Demiurge flicked his tail and turned away gracefully, if you do this again, I will show no mercy. Sebastian's expression turned cold immediately, I have absolutely no ulterior motives. Well, that's better. Chapter 4. Everyone, pay your tribute of loyalty to the Supreme Being. Led by Albedo, the Guardians fell to their knees one after another. Momanga, emitting the aura of death, was facing the fanatical loyalty of a group of level 100 NPCs alone. After he asked what kind of existence he had in the Guardian's heart, everyone praised him to the utmost, to the extent that anyone standing there would blush. Flying Squirrel felt like there was something stuck in his throat, and after arranging the relevant matters, he prepared to run away as soon as possible. Albedo called out to him, Master Momanga, do you know where Master Sigli is now? Momanga thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, Sig has gone to scout the area around Nazarick. We have already discussed the current situation. But... Albedo. Cocytus exhaled a breath of cold air and shouted, you can't be rude to the Supreme Being. I'm so sorry. Albedo lowered her head deeply, her expression distorted where no one could see, and the pair of wings behind her trembled imperceptibly. Albedo, this is definitely not something the Guardian Chief should be involved in. Demiurge said coldly. But it should be about time. Momanga wiped the non-existent cold sweat, and because he was too anxious, his body emitted a green light. This is his unique passive skill of forced calmness, which will only be activated when his mood fluctuates too much. Sig-san, are you going to let him take the responsibility alone? Why did you disappear after sending the message? Didn't you agree to be his solid support? After realizing that this was not a virtual world, Manga put safety first. Although the Guardians were very loyal, it was difficult to guarantee that they would not encounter stronger enemies. Don't let anything go wrong. Am I late? Sig walked out of the shadow-covered entranceway. The surrounding fences rose automatically, and the Guardians all looked over at the same time. After walking into the fence, Sig found that the area inside the arena was very large. The audience seats alone were wrapped around several layers, so it was possible to summon followers here. In addition to the special profession of Dragon Knight, he also has a cavalry profession. After reaching level 60, he can summon flying dragon followers. However, this place is obviously used for watching fighting, and invaders will face a devastating disaster here. Sig had already pulled down his helmet. He was not wearing full body armor, but it protected all the joints and chest of his body. The platinum armor emitted a faint light and its quality was at the artifact level. Sig, you've arrived just in time. Come meet the Guardian of Nazarick. Although the Guardians are very familiar with the players, they are like strangers to them. It is probably the same relationship between players and NPCs. If they were not idle and read the settings, they might not recognize them all. Do I need to introduce myself again? Lord Sigli. Mare said weakly. The dark elf sister Aura sighed. She had to explain to her troublesome brother again, but she was still surprised that Mare was the first to speak. I'm Shaltir Bloodfallen, meeting you, sir. Shaltir licked her bright red lips with her wet tongue, and there seemed to be a hint of fragrance coming from her mouth. With Sig's excellent 5 senses, this smell is the same as if it was right in his face, but he was able to remain rational. Although I am not a human being now, I cannot really become a beast. The floor guardian of the 1st to 3rd floors, Shaltir Bloodfallen, is a true ancestor, an undead vampire species commonly known as a lamprey. Pararon Sino, the epitome of H-game enthusiasts, possesses almost all the weird sexual fetishes, especially necrophilia. Sig is glad that he is not within his hunting range. Then, in order, the 5th floor guardian Cocytus, the 6th floor guardians Aura and Mare, and the 7th floor guardian Demiurge introduced themselves one by one. Sig did not let them use the loyal kneeling ceremony because time was urgent, and they could just be casual like Shaltir. The Great Tomb only needs a majestic and merciful supreme ruler. Sig's role is a perfect assistant. He is casual and does not like power, so there is no need to maintain a majestic image too much. I am Albedo, the Guardian Chief, and I am honored to meet you, Your Excellency. Albedo bowed slightly in salute, selectively ignoring the fact that her pure white dress was covered in dust. Considering his current status, Sig nodded in response, controlling his words between dignity and kindness as a qualified member of society. You probably know that my full name is Sigris Hrasva. If you must add the word sir, just call me Sir Sig. That's what everyone calls me. Everyone? That means the other supreme beings. Albedo's expression was stiff with surprise. The Guardians and Sebastian were also very nervous, as if this was more serious than scolding them. The change in atmosphere made Sig feel a little regretful. He had underestimated the status of the Supreme Being, but he did not think there was anything wrong with this method. Actually, I prefer the name Sig-sama. If you don't want to be called that, forget it. An abnormal and distorted expression appeared on Albedo's face for a moment, and then it returned to its perfect image. I understand, Master Sig. No one objected, he was worthy of being the Chief Guardian. Sig nodded, disarmed himself in front of everyone, and revealed his true appearance. Except for his eyes, the tail behind him, and the horns on his head, he looked like a handsome man. The armor was replaced by a neat black suit without a tie. It was hard to tell the style, and it looked more like something that would appear in a game that mixed multiple elements. For the sake of convenience, I will be active in this form. If the president has nothing else to do, everyone can go back and rest. Manga opened his mouth in surprise, and after thinking about it, he realized that he had never seen Sig's true face. Well, let's disband. Remember not to act stubbornly. The Guardian nodded deeply and knelt down, and the two of them left together by teleportation. Things in front of him changed. Looking around, it seemed to be a luxurious suite. Sig sat on the sofa nearby and picked up a cup of coffee to drink. Momanga was so angry that he wanted to ask so many questions, but he didn't know how to start. Sig-san, how can you be so calm when something like this happened? I may be more adaptable. By the way, Momanga, aren't you more clear-headed? You are quite skilled in commanding the Guardians. I was just thinking out of habit. Wait, you've been here a long time ago. Sig simply said, please take care of Albedo. She looks like a murderer. He had originally planned to eavesdrop and then make up a random excuse for not being there and no one would blame him, but he came out only when he saw that Momanga was really making things difficult for him. Albedo's unconcealed love was impossible to ignore, and if Momanga hadn't been there, he would have been attacked. It wouldn't do to go too crazy. I see. Momanga's tone suddenly weakened, and he changed the subject and asked about what had just happened. Sig spread his hands. He had no intention of hiding anything. You mages probably don't understand the warrior's troubles. I didn't feel it when I was playing the game, but I couldn't carry out daily activities in armor. But this is not very safe. What if an enemy attacks? Sig said calmly, you also know that my professional composition is very complicated. I can still exert my strength without wearing that evil dragon blood armor. I also have the skill of instant arming. Don't worry too much. Faisal was helpless, but he couldn't find any fault with this argument. The pressure in his heart was growing. If he did anything that did not live up to the Guardians' evaluation, he would definitely disappoint them. And there was an even more important issue. If he continues like this, he will not only be ashamed to see Kui Ulu Sang, but also will not be able to face Sig Sang. What should he do? You seem to be hiding something from me, President. Sig asked with concern. Momanga opened his mouth wide, his jaw seemed to be dislocated, and a green light flashed across his body. If it weren't for the fact that his skull face couldn't make any expressions, his expression would be very rich right now. Sig-san, I want to confess something about Albedo. Sig pretended to be surprised, hiding the slightly upturned corners of his mouth, and the fun of the fun-loving man was about to begin. What? Chapter 5. A few minutes after the two Supreme Beings left, everyone stood up. Even so, no one dared to speak loudly, out of respect from the bottom of their hearts. Mare clapped his hands and said timidly, Great, Master Sig is back after all. Aura tapped his head and said angrily, What are you talking about? When has Lord Sig ever failed to come back on time? But, we almost didn't see each other. Mare's voice became increasingly quiet, but all the Guardians present could hear it, and for a moment the atmosphere became oppressive. In the Guardians' memory, Sig, as the Supreme Being, is the most unstable one and always disappears every once in a while. Now that I think about it, if I hadn't returned before Nazarick was transferred, I would never have seen it again. Isn't Master Momanga always here? Master Sig will definitely come back even if it's just for Master Momanga. Aura said confidently. The powerful fluctuations in Lord Momanga's body are really hard to control. You are worthy of being the one who commands the Supreme Beings, my only ruler. Shaltir gasped, her cheeks flushed unnaturally. Aura moved away in disgust. Albedo slowly stood up, her face turned grim, and a dangerous aura emanated from her. Shaltir, I noticed that you have been very disrespectful to Lord Sig since just now. Ah! Albedo frowned and accused sharply, aren't you judging the Supreme Being based on your own quirks? Hot news, dragon people are immortal, not undead, and do not conform to the hobbies of necrophilia. I'm telling the truth. You're overthinking it. Shaltir's eyes widened, and her expression became exaggerated. Besides, Momanga-sama is more attractive. Cocytus exhaled a breath of cold air and said in a muffled voice, Shaltir, you are so disrespectful. BCH. Albedo, calm down too. The 2-meter-tall insect king fell into silence. He really couldn't understand the war between women. The two children, Mare and Aura, didn't understand much about this and stood by and watched. Sebastian was a little impatient and anxious, and it was obvious that his attention was not focused on the quarrel. He was hesitating whether to serve the Supreme Lord, and what to do if the two were not together. After not much thought, he decisively decided to prioritize Momanga-sama, even though he wanted to be closer to Sig-sama, but it was indeed as Demiurge said. I am going to serve the Supreme Being. I cannot keep you waiting too long. Sebastian trotted away, fearing that someone would stop him from behind. Demiurge gave a meaningful look. It was just an argument about charm, which was actually harmless. He believed that the two supreme beings would not be angry about it. If the two of them were arguing over one, he might even look forward to the result. However, if it develops into two factions, it will inevitably lead to disharmony within Nazarick, which is definitely something that both adults do not want to see. The Supreme Being has created their different personalities, but Lord Sig has just hinted to him that Nazarick must be unified, so he should take this opportunity to remind the other guardians. Albedo, Shaltir, please stop for a moment. I don't want this argument to continue. Lord Sig and Lord Momonga are good friends. You should get along with each other, or you will disappoint them. Disappointment leaving? Shaltir and Albedo looked at each other and quickly reached an agreement. Even though they were arguing, their loyalty to the two Supremes was unquestionable, as was their respect for them, as arguing over a minor misstep would indeed hurt harmony. If this affects the two adults, they would rather commit suicide. The surrounding guardians all nodded in agreement. Albedo tucked her hair behind her ears and said, Shaltir, I think we can end this topic now. Don't let me hear your disrespectful words in the future. I'm sorry. I admit that I made a mistake. In fact, Pararon Sino-sama is set up to become relaxed when facing Sig-sama. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I see, this is actually the setting of the Supreme Being. But I advise you not to have any strange thoughts about Sig-sama. Humph, I won't. I want to keep Master Momonga all to myself. Just you? Humph. Do you have any objection? Damn violent gorilla, Shaltir complained secretly. Nothing, that's all. Tisk, just a stupid lamprey who is interested in corpses. Albedo is very confident that Lord Sig will not like a woman with big breasts and no brains. But it's better this way. Although I don't want to admit it, Shaltir is indeed a strong rival, and she can have Lord Sig all to herself. Sig, who has a hobby of collecting props, is the only guild member who has not created an NPC, so there will be no situation where other people share the pets, which is very good news. Albedo returned to normal, turning back into a dignified and beautiful pure white demon. All right, guardians, let's assign tasks. Flying Squirrel, do you want to have a PvP game? At this moment, Sig was wiping the spear in his hand, and the black tip of the spear flashed with cold light. Gunniger is made of branches of the world tree. The oath made on the spear cannot be regretted and will be fulfilled. It can be thrown to penetrate everything. When thrown, it is like a meteor streaking through the sky. It is also called the meteor spear. One of the world-class items held by Ainz Oulgown was snatched by Sig in the guild war. With the permission of other guild members, he personally holds it and uses it as his main weapon. In the past, faced with such an invitation, Faisha would have gladly accepted it. Although he is a PvP expert, he has never defeated Sig. He is like a high wall blocking one's way. Competing with him makes one feel the joy of defeating a strong enemy. But given the current situation, it is obviously not a good time. Forget it. What if I can't be resurrected? Although magic can be used in this world, I haven't been able to verify resurrection magic yet. Sig nodded in agreement, as sensible as ever. By the way, why don't you change the settings so that Albedo loves Momonga? If you don't tell anyone, no one will know. I think that's more reasonable. Sig-san, how could I do that? Isn't Albedo your ideal type? Momonga said very understandingly. Sig looked confused. Hey? When did I say that? Pararon Sino and Bubble Teapot were there that time. You said you liked a lady who looked gentle and ladylike but was actually very domineering. When I saw Albedo's setting, you were the first person I thought of. That being said, Albedo is the child of the Emerald Record. Sig was devastated. Although what he said was true, Albedo's personality could not be summed up in one sentence. That kind of love had reached the level of Yandere. Sig got goosebumps when he thought that Albedo blushed because of him and her expression was distorted because of him. But the change of Albedo's settings was really an accident. I thought the server was going to be shut down, and somehow I made the change. Momonga felt that he was quibbling, so he prepared to kneel down and apologize. Sig covered his face helplessly. Forget it, things have come to this point, I can only accept it. Momonga comforted her softly. Albedo's appearance is one of the best in Nazarick, and her personality is also very good. She is simply a perfect girlfriend, but don't get me wrong, I won't have any other thoughts. A friend's wife should not be bullied. I can't do such an immoral thing. Sig looked hopeless. If he had known, he wouldn't have said anything more and shouldn't have gotten along so well with Faishu. Perhaps because he saw that the comfort had the opposite effect, Momanga made an excuse to go out for a walk to relax, but Sig was in no mood for that now. He waved his hand and prepared to go back to his room to rest. Sig-san, don't worry. If I see the Jade record in the future, I will be responsible for explaining it. The smile Sig just forced froze. Thank you so much. Chapter 6. The 9th level of the Great Underground Tomb of Nazarick is the luxurious royal suite that serves as the residence for guild members. Sig walked through the spacious corridor. The smooth marble-like floor reflected the light from the ceiling, and he could see the gorgeous chandelier when he looked up. Even people who are well-informed have to sigh at the extravagant and inhumane decoration. From the outside it looks like a white castle, and it is obvious with the naked eye that a huge amount of effort has been spent on it. There are not only private rooms for guild members and NPC rooms, but also various facilities such as living rooms, reception rooms, round-table conference rooms, offices, etc. In addition, there are large baths, cafeterias, beauty salons, clothing stores, grocery stores, nail salons, and other facilities, covering all daily entertainment activities. Although these were meaningless facilities in Yggdrasil, they are now ready for use. What a lovely group of companions! Sig curled his lips. Dragon people are not as efficient as undead. As living beings, they need to eat and sleep. Only by eating and sleeping well can they ensure a happy mood. Although Momanga forced himself to stay calm and rational, the human part of him would fall into deep fatigue in the long run. Even though I'm tired, my body is still in top condition. Not being able to sleep can really drive people crazy. Perhaps in the end, the part that belongs to Suzuki Satoru will gradually disappear, and he will completely lose all emotions and think completely from the perspective of the ruler of Nazarick. I believe Momanga has also realized this. Changing races like deleting the account and starting over, which is obviously unrealistic. Sig wasn't too worried. If Momanga really cared, he would definitely reveal something to him. If I don't think it's a big deal, then he doesn't need to say anything. Looking at the exquisite clock on the wall, it is now 9 o'clock in the evening. There is a restaurant on the 9th floor that is exclusively for guild members to dine in. I remember that it was designed by Tian Muyike, who is the head chef of the restaurant in real life and is very knowledgeable about this aspect. Although it was past dinner time and no one would refuse to cook for him as the Supreme Being, it was still not advisable to become such a black-hearted boss. While he was thinking, 3 maids appeared from the corner. After seeing the person in front of them, their laughter stopped abruptly. They all knelt on one knee and bowed their heads at the same time. Even their shouting was in unison, as if they had been rehearsed. Greetings, Lord Sigris. Sig had originally thought that the other party might not recognize him in his current appearance, so he could just fool him. However, it turned out that the other party recognized him easily. He and Sebastian were the only dragonmen in Nazarick, so they were not difficult to identify based on their race. Since the NPCs can recognize who their companions are, it is normal for them to recognize the only 2 supreme beings. They probably have a special way of distinguishing them. Have you finished cleaning? The short-haired maid screamed out of excitement, and when she realized it, she clenched her fingers so nervously that her fingertips turned white. The other 2 also looked anxious. Seeing that Sig didn't say anything, he spoke boldly. Lord Sigris, your room has been cleaned by someone, you can go and rest anytime. We just finished eating in the cafeteria and are going to clean the hall. Sig nodded and said calmly, thank you for your hard work. Please don't say that. Being able to serve the Supreme Being is the only reason for our existence. Sig nodded, and when he heard about the cafeteria, he immediately became interested. Looking down, I saw the 10 rings on my hands. Although the game limits the number of rings that can be worn, players who value ability will use high-level paid props to wear rings on both hands and unleash the abilities of all the rings at the same time. The ruby ring on the right hand is printed with the emblem of Ainz gown. This is the guild ring. Every guild member has one. The blue ring next to it is the nutrition ring. In Yggdrasil, you only need to wear a nutrition ring to solve the problem of eating, but in reality it is better to eat real food. Sig took off his nutrition ring and murmured, I wonder what the food in Nazarick tastes like. After Sig walked away, the 3 maids belatedly stood up, feeling as if they had just had a dream. They actually got to talk to the Supreme Being, which was something that the lower-ranking servants could not even imagine. Lord Sigris is so gentle. Keep your voice down and don't disturb Lord Sigli. It should be all right. Lord Sigris has gone far away. Lord Sigris is such a handsome man. The other two nodded. Sig tilted his head and sighed helplessly, I can hear it all. The reason he didn't want to be recognized was because he was always called Lord Sigris, which made him feel like a parrot. In comparison, he could barely accept Lord Sig. When I pushed open the door to the cafeteria, I saw a long table covered with a white cloth, which was neatly arranged, with several stools placed on both sides. There were also maids walking around, most of whom had already finished their meals and preparations. Sig noticed a row of shelves on the side, 3 in total, almost full of food, that was the buffet counter. The 41 maids of Nazarick are all androids, and have a selective racial penalty that increases their appetite, so food must be prepared in sufficient quantities. Crispy bacon, corn chowder, onion soup, sausage, French fries, Danish, and cheese. After a quick look, Sig found that all the dishes here were Western. If possible, he wanted to eat something that could fill his stomach. He walked up to the masked manservant and said, well, I want juice and beef. If you have bread, you can have one. The male servant, enveloped by the horrifying aura, immediately knelt down and saluted, his body shaking unconsciously. Sig then realized that he had forgotten that the other party couldn't speak, which made him a little annoyed as he had specially used concealment magic. It seems that it is okay if the distance is far, but once you get too close, you will still be recognized quickly. What happened? The door of the cafeteria was opened again, and a butler appeared with a butler's assistant. Ah, here comes the penguin. Why come at this time? The maid's attitude towards penguins can't really be described as good, but that's understandable. Because he always talks big about ruling Nazarick, even if he is the Supreme Being, it is inevitable that people will become unbearable if he keeps saying such things. While everyone was not paying attention, Sig teleported over, picked up the penguin and closed the cafeteria door. The butler stood by with a confused look on his face. The butler's assistant, Ikalele, is a birdman, level 1 only, and was made by Red Bean Bun Machi. It is said that the level is set so low in order to match the setting of wanting to rule the great tomb of Nazarick and avoid chaos. Greetings, Lord Sigris. After being put on the ground, Ikalele immediately took out a small comb to tidy up his hair and straightened his bow tie, striving to face the Supreme Being with the most perfect posture. Sig suddenly thought of something, the butler is your subordinate. Chapter 7. That's right. I command a total of 10 male servants. When Lord Sabas serves the Supreme Being, they are responsible for assisting in the management of some affairs of the 9th layer. Ikule said proudly. He barely bent his chubby body, with his short wings placed elegantly on his chest. Logically speaking, the birdman should look like a bird of prey like Pararansino, but Ikulari redesigned the exterior model based on the rockhopper penguin. In Nazarick, the number of NPCs responsible for combat has reached saturation, and the most valuable thing about Ikular is his cute appearance, although he has not become popular because of this. Sig stroked his chin, so it was the butler just now who notified you to come here. Yes, I have been working hard to rule Nazarick one day. Ikalele covered his mouth belatedly, and seeing Sig's unhappy face, he began to sweat profusely. The male servant behind him was so frightened that he dared not make a sound and stood at attention nervously. It would be fine if I said this in private, but I didn't expect to actually say it in front of the Supreme Being. I wonder if I will be punished. Even if it is the setting of Red Bean Bun Machi Lord, if Lord Sigli, who is also the Supreme Lord, feels disgusted by it, it will not be enough for these slaves to commit suicide to apologize. Sig frowned, thinking. To be honest, he didn't care much about these. Momanga was in charge of ruling Nazarick, and his life was destined to be just about eating and drinking well. Oh, and sleep well. The point is that the food that was about to reach his mouth flew away. He was indeed a little hungry. How could he express his desire to eat in a tactful way? By the way, if you meet someone in the cafeteria, unless they are people with a slightly low IQ like Kangda and Shaltir, or people with superb intelligence like Demiurge and Albedo, you will know what they are here for. Ikulari, I can forget about the nonsense you said. After all, that's how red bean wrapped mochi is made. But you have to keep my visit to the cafeteria a secret today. As you command, Lord Sigli, may I ask you why you are here? Is it because the food in the restaurant is not to your taste? After asking the question, the penguin showed a serious expression on his face, with his eyes flashing with seriousness. I met a maid coming out of the cafeteria on the way, so I thought I'd try eating in the restaurant. Sig answered simply and clearly. I'm very sorry. I presumptuously speculated on Lord Siglia's thoughts. I'm sorry to disturb your meal. Ikolele puffed out his chest, with his 2 short legs hidden under his fat belly. If you don't mind, I will have the maid bring the meal to your room later after asking Lord Sebastian. In order to prevent Ikolele from feeling more guilty, Sig concealed the fact that he did not want to be discovered. He was very satisfied with the current result. There were footsteps on the stairs, and a few seconds later, Albedo's beautiful face came into view. Ikolari bowed his head neatly and saluted, Lady Albedo. Generally speaking, the followers of the Floor Guardians would kneel down and pay obeisance to Albedo when they saw her, but Icarer was the butler's assistant, a unique being created by the Supreme Being himself, so the most appropriate thing for him to do was to bow his head. Albedo also knew that this was the most proper etiquette, so she nodded slightly and smiled charmingly, Lord Sig, why are you here? Icarile can help me explain. Ikulea replied seriously, Master Sigli wants to taste the food in the cafeteria. I will arrange for a maid to deliver it to your room. Maid. Albedo narrowed her eyes slightly and said in a very gentle voice, did Lord Sig agree as well? Although there was still a smile on his face, it could no longer be considered a smile. It was more like an expression as if he had seen a demon. Not yet. Having had experience in 2 lifetimes, Sig was a little scared. If he said he had agreed, he was worried that the penguin mascot would be torn to pieces. Does Lord Sig need my service? I have already washed and dressed before meeting you, and my clothes are clean as new. I am ready to receive your call at any time. Sig was stunned for a moment and asked, Albedo, did you know I was here a long time ago? Yes, nothing can be hidden from Lord Sig. I just ran into a few maids who had spoken to you. As the head guardian, I apologize to you on behalf of the rude servants. At that time, I was stained with dirt and could not appear in such a dirty appearance, so I went back to my room to clean my body and did not come to see Lord Sig immediately. It's okay. You don't have to be so troublesome next time. It won't affect your beauty. As long as it's for Lord Sig, none of this is a problem. Thank you for your loyalty, Albedo. Albedo raised her eyes slightly, rolled her eyes and made a terrifying sound, so, what do you think of my proposal, Lord Sig? At this point, Sig was in a difficult situation and had to grit his teeth and agree. He was a dragon warrior and was not afraid of Albedo at all. Thank you very much. Albedo's expression changed quickly and immediately returned to her original beautiful face, as if everything just now was just an illusion. Then I'll go back to my room first, and I'll leave the rest to you. Sig nodded and used teleportation to leave. After Sig left, Albedo showed an obscene smile, an expression she would never show in front of her beloved, I will definitely get him. Ikulea shrank into a corner in fear, apparently it was the first time he had seen such a scene. Ikulari. Albedo shouted coldly, Sig-sama doesn't like people calling him Sigri-sama. You are responsible for conveying this message to the servants of Nazarick. If anyone dares to call him the wrong name next time, it will not be a verbal punishment. Ikulari quickly raised his wings and said, Yes, Lady Albedo, I will pass it on. Albedo fluttered her wings. She looked even more charming now that she had calmed down. She was in a good mood because of what happened just now. I should also prepare again. Sig opened the door and saw all kinds of expensive furniture. The floor was covered with a red carpet with gold edges. There was a huge French window near the inside. There is a bright moon in the sky, and the soft moonlight pours down like a veil. Such a scene is impossible since the Great Tomb of Nazarick is located underground, but this is not a fictional sky. This window was actually a prop similar to a telephoto lens, which could completely project the scene outside Nazarick. The range was very large, and everything seen was real. Although this device is simple, it consumes a lot of data, but now it seems that it is completely worth it. Master Sig, may I come in? Albedo's voice interrupted Sig's thoughts. He said with difficulty, Come in. Chapter 8. The special decoration of the room made Albedo open her mouth in surprise. Her own room was closest to the Supreme Being's room. She had thought that Sig's room would be almost the same as her own room, but she had not expected the difference to be so great. Noticing that Sig was looking at her, Albedo suddenly withdrew her hand, folded her wings, and looked diagonally downward. Oh no! Sig laughed, thinking that Albedo was quite cute like this. What's wrong? I lost my temper. If Lord Sig is unhappy about this, please punish me. Whether it's a whip or something else, I can endure it. Albedo placed her slender hands on her chest, a strange light flashing in her eyes, and her words were very sincere. No need. I already know your loyalty, Albedo. It was indeed an illusion just now. Albedo is still the same Albedo, but she seems to look more like a succubus. Sig felt that she would soon be able to shed the title of the shameful succubus. Wait, what is he thinking? Compared to Momonga's occasional thoughts and then feeling guilty, Sig now only has an appreciative attitude towards his friends' children. He is a workaholic and has led an abstinent life for a long time, but that doesn't mean he is good at dealing with women. Thank you for your generosity. By the way, besides the maid who cleans the room, Albedo, you are the first guardian to come into my room here. After the design was completed, it was Sig's first time entering the room. It was normal for him to be surprised. He himself marveled at the luxury of the decoration. It's my honor, Lord Sig. Albedo tried her best to suppress her excitement and replied in a calm tone. But every movement of hers revealed her true thoughts. Her wings trembled uncontrollably and her body shook uncontrollably, as if she would pounce on him in the next second. Fortunately, Albedo was still very reserved. She just stared at Sig with her shining golden eyes, and her oval pupils were about to turn into a heart shape. With such enthusiasm, he can still cope with it. Don't underestimate a mature member of society. His acting skills are definitely maxed out. Sig hummed and said calmly, Albedo, what food did you bring? I'm a little hungry. Can you introduce it to me? Albedo immediately returned to her former role as the Guardian's chief steward, speaking professionally and gently, I'd be happy to do that. Today's main course is meat, the frosted dragon steak from the ancient frost dragon of Jotunheim, the appetizer is the skewered lobster, the soup is the thick soup of Alfheim tomatoes and world tree eggs, and then for dessert, the golden tea ice cream. Considering it's getting late, I didn't prepare coffee, and the drink I prepared is the juice of the fruit of the Alfheim elf tree. Albedo finished her introduction like a chant, gently spread her wings, and looked at Sig expectantly. Sig nodded in agreement. Although there were no steamed buns to eat, considering the appetite of this body, eating meat would be more filling. This kind of thing should have been done by a maid, but it seemed that Albedo had put a lot of thought into it to be able to do it to this extent. Although it may sound strange for dragon people to eat dragon flesh, it is not actually cannibalism. Because of their powerful characteristics, dragons often appear as bosses, and the experience points and dropped items are very considerable. Even many job transfer tasks require killing a certain number of dragons. In the early days of the guild, in order to quickly level up and climb the charts, a dragon hunting craze was set off, and almost all members of Ainz were mobilized. According to the setting, dragon people have no blood relationship with dragons, are not a branch of the dragon clan, and are an independent alien species. Because of their multifaceted racial characteristics, they have always been popular in Yggdrasil. Demons were the first to be determined, and subsequently a series of similar races were introduced. Later, in order to satisfy the players, the official launched the Dragon Man and the conversion item Dragon Heart. The multiple forms were also related to the dragon that could not be selected as a race, which caused a buying boom for a time. Albedo smiled after receiving the affirmation and steadily picked up a piece of dragon meat with her chopsticks. Please open your mouth. There was silence for a few seconds. This time it was Sig's turn to open his mouth in shock. He took the meat first. His sharp teeth were like a meat grinder and he swallowed it after just 2 chews. In fact, he didn't have to chew, his stomach could completely digest the meat he swallowed, but after eating for so many years, he had become accustomed to chewing. After swallowing the dragon meat in his mouth, Sig's tone became serious, Albedo, your current love is due to the modification of the settings. It is definitely not your original intention. If you change to love someone else, your feelings will also change. Sig wanted to put it more tactfully, but this was the fact. He knew better than anyone that Albedo had been deprived of her self-esteem by the last setting. Perhaps the BCH setting in the Emerald record was also the result of careful consideration. Of course, it is not good for such a beauty to be a BCH. Albedo asked in a low voice, did it bother you? Sig didn't know how to answer for a moment. He was definitely troubled, but he wouldn't answer like that. I care more about your true feelings, Albedo. Do you understand what I mean? A smile appeared on Sig's lips, and combined with what he said, there was a very mysterious feeling, and the moonlight just happened to divide the room into 2 sides of light and dark. Albedo's heart was beating wildly, and her cheeks flushed with excitement, but the darkness concealed this abnormality very well. Although I think I'm fine now, I will try to follow Sig-sama's instructions and explore my heart. I won't let you down. Sig felt that it was enough to say this. As one of the three wise men in the Great Tomb, Albedo would definitely understand what he meant. The president will be very angry because I changed your settings if the Jade record is still there. No, Lord Jadeite will be grateful for Lord Momonga's good intentions, and Lord Sig will definitely make an excellent husband. Albedo came forward, exuding a fragrant scent, so, it is possible. How is that possible? Sig knows his companions very well. If the setting maniac Kui Yulo sees that his settings have been modified, he will definitely be so angry that he will curse. At that time, Momanga and he will be publicly executed and even labeled as perverts. After quickly finishing her dinner, Albedo reluctantly called the maid to clean up and gently closed the door before leaving. After eating, Sig yawned, and perhaps because he was really tired, he lay down on the bed and fell asleep. After Albedo left the room, she ran into Sebastian who was patrolling. Sebastian, Master Sig has gone to bed. Well, that's great. It was our mistake to tire the Supreme Being. Sebastian noticed that Albedo was in a good mood and asked casually, what good thing happened? It's a very good thing indeed. Albedo secretly rejoiced, revealing a lewd and evil smile. She would definitely get Lord Sig. Chapter 9. In front of the quaint desk, Faisha sat on the chair with dignity. Although majestic is not an accurate adjective, it is indeed so in the eyes of the guardians, and even reading a book is full of charm. As the pages of the book turned, a rustling sound was heard in the silent room. With this body, even if he maintained a posture for a long time, he would not suffer from problems such as cervical spondylosis, and stiffness naturally did not exist. Faisha watched tirelessly for several hours. If you don't feel hungry or tired, it's easy to lose track of time, even though you're just trying to kill time. Albedo arranged everything in an orderly manner. Demiurge was busy communicating intelligence and building a defense network, and each guardian performed his duty conscientiously. Flying Squirrel suddenly didn't know what to do, and thought that he might as well discuss it with Sig again. The wisdom of two people is always better than his own imagination. Thinking of this, Momanga glanced at the other person in the room. Let Sebastian stay away when the time comes. There's nothing I can do even if it makes him unhappy. This should be the second time I made him angry after traveling alone last time. But this is also necessary in order to protect the image of the Supreme Being in the hearts of those who keep it. Master Momanga, what can I do for you? Well, nothing much for now. Sig might come over later, so don't be surprised. Is Lord Sig coming over? Momanga noticed that Sebastian had become noticeably happier, with the smile on his face growing even brighter, and it was as if he had a strange sense of déjà vu. Even if it is said according to your own personality, there is no need to be so similar, Takumi-san. Sebastian looked up at the clock and asked, it's time for afternoon tea. Should we prepare refreshments? Momanga opened his mouth to refuse. Whatever he ate would leak out in his skeleton body, and there was no need for the undead to ingest food. He didn't expect Sebastian to make such a mistake. Just as he was about to speak, Momanga suddenly realized that Sig was not undead. He was the only one who didn't need it, and he immediately shut himself off. Momanga silently apologized to Sebastian and said, just prepare something simple. Remember to make the cakes sweet. Salty ones taste weird. Coffee is not necessary. You can prepare some tea drinks. Sebastian listened attentively, almost taking notes in a notebook. Mr. Momanga knows a lot about Mr. Sig's hobbies, it seems like they are very good friends. Momanga laughed heartily. A true good friend should be someone else. You and Demiurge should know something about this. We two just get along well because we are often online at the same time. Pararon knows Momanga can be considered a good friend, and Sig is close to Takumi and Albert, but it's the two of them who stay together in the end. It is fate that makes two people depend on each other in a different world. Sebastian didn't know much about these things, but as long as it wasn't just Albert-sama, it would be fine. Demiurge's words really couldn't be completely trusted. He bowed his head slightly. Master Momanga, I will go and inform the chef to prepare now. Is there anything else to arrange? Momanga said very considerately, I will allow you to leave for a while. Yes. Sebastian pushed the door open and left with brisk steps, extremely fast, as if he was afraid of being stopped by Flying Squirrel. In fact, he is just capable in action. How can one speculate maliciously on a kind-hearted butler with a justice value of 300? Besides, Momanga wished he was left alone. Seeing that he was the only one left in the room, the ruler of Nazarick leaned his entire back against the chair, with his hands hanging naturally at his sides, finally able to assume a relaxing posture similar to Geu's. Alas, I am finally the only one left. Having guards follow you everywhere, you might feel proud and want to show off at first, but now there is only an indescribable feeling of torment. He had to be able to run around with his guards as he pleased, but he also had to maintain his dignity as the ruler of Nazarick at all times. Even though he was always surrounded by beautiful women, he would still feel the pressure of having his private life invaded. I really want to escape outside. If I call Sig along, then it won't be considered a solo trip. I can just enjoy the scenery, Momanga thought. After a while, there was a knock on the door. Momanga quickly straightened his sitting position and said in a ruling voice, "Come in." "President, I'm coming in." Sig pushed the door open, and following behind him was a person who could definitely be called a beauty. She had a very decent appearance, and seemed only slightly inferior to Albedo. She exuded a very calm temperament. By Lily Alpha. The eldest sister of the combat maids wore a very decent maid outfit, with almost no exposed skin except for her face and hands. The metal waistguard brought out her excellent body proportions. Her hands were covered with metal gauntlets covered with spikes, and a jewel-studded necklace was used to stabilize her head. Momanga noticed that Yuri was also the type of intellectual older sister. Although he didn't know if it was a cute contrast, this look did fit Sig's preferences. Sig hadn't noticed that Momanga had wrong thoughts at this time. He felt a little sleepy sitting on the soft sofa. With the props, he actually didn't feel tired. Suddenly I had nothing to do and felt so bored that I could only sleep to pass the time. Albedo became much more honest after hearing his advice. When they met occasionally, she would just say hello normally and then devote her energy to work. She could always be seen busy. Sig felt relieved and envious. He originally thought that he could just relax and have fun in the other world, but without electronic products, he couldn't quit his job and wanted to go out. He is a LV1 language master who learned it by the way when he changed his job. Therefore, he has the special skill of quickly mastering other languages and is most suitable for going out to gather information. Just at this moment, Sebastian came back and the maid brought dessert. The table was filled with a variety of small cakes served on exquisite plates, and the teapot for black tea was a luxurious enlarged version, which was so exaggerated that it seemed as if a tea party was about to begin. Sig felt the chef's enthusiasm bursting out as if he had found a breakthrough. He prepared such a sumptuous meal for just an afternoon tea, and he knew clearly that Momanga didn't need to eat the food. Did he want him to eat it all? Although he does have a big appetite, it feels like I'm feeding him like a pig. If he doesn't finish his food, he'll be suspected of being dissatisfied. It's really a headache. Momanga said, "You guys should withdraw first." Yes. The two supreme beings had something to talk about. With this subtext, several people obediently withdrew without asking for reasons. It only took a second for Momanga to stop pretending. "What should I do, Sig-san?" Chapter 10. Faishu opened up and told about how he went out alone to relax but was caught on the spot. "Hey, he's clearly equipped with armor, and he doesn't even show his face. I think his identity was exposed by teleportation. Only those who possess the ring of Ainz can move freely in Nazarick. Now there are only 2 people who possess it, so they can be easily recognized." "Not really. I used advanced stealth magic when I went to the cafeteria to eat, but I was still recognized by the butler. It's impossible to do things quietly." Sig pointed this out mercilessly. Momanga nodded in empathy, and then talked about another matter. Mare is in charge of hiding the outer wall of Nazarick, but the wall is too long and the workload is too heavy, so I rewarded him with a guild ring. Sig was not surprised. There were a total of 100 rings of Ainz, and each guild member had one. Even so, there were still more than 50 that could be used freely, so they were not precious things. Apart from rings, it is difficult to find a more suitable prop to reward subordinates. As long as Mare is happy. He was happy, but Mare was frightened at first, and it was hard to persuade him to accept it. Momanga was sweating secretly, but fortunately he succeeded in the end. "But is it only Mare who has it? I plan to give them to them as well. Mare is the first one, and Albedo and Demiurge should also need them." Momanga did think about giving them all at once, so that every guardian would have one, but when he thought about how big Mare's reaction would be, he decided to wait a little longer and give them one at a time. Well, for them, the rings that belong only to guild members are indeed very valuable, so we should be more cautious when distributing them. Well, I thought so too. Flying Squirrel was very glad that he didn't say what was in his heart. Wait, this wasn't in front of the Guardian, there was no need to be so nervous. On the other hand, Sig was picking up a piece of exquisite pastry, putting it into his mouth, and naturally licking the residue at the corner of his mouth with his tongue. Because he was wearing gloves, his sharp nails did not affect his delicate movements. He picked up the steaming black tea and slowly took a sip. The pastries were sweet but not greasy, and the black tea was rich, and Sig felt extremely satisfied. Momanga said helplessly, eating too much sweets will make you fat, and it's not very healthy for your body. Even though he ordered the meal, he still felt that the table full of desserts was a bit too much. He couldn't imagine Sig getting fat. Sig sighed. His current body is not afraid of eating too much. It is really a great benefit for those with a sweet tooth. When he lifts up his clothes, he can see perfect 8-pack abs. In the past, in order to maintain my figure, I had to drink coffee all day long, not to mention cakes. I complained to Faishu a few times, but I didn't expect that I was remembered. He is indeed a good president. He will take you out to play, and collect information about the new world. I heard that Demiurge's security network has been set up. The 5 kilometers around Nazarick are under surveillance. I feel quite relieved. Hearing about the safety of Nazarick, Momanga immediately said seriously, we can't be careless at all. What if the ordinary people in this world are all level 100? At that time, even the warning network will be useless. We must hide Nazarick completely. I have asked Demiurge to prepare a second warning network. Sig didn't know whether Flying Squirrel had a too vivid imagination or was just too cautious. This guess was too crazy. Except for gods, the highest level of pure humans was only around level 40. However, it is definitely better to be cautious when rashly entering a different world, and he is trustworthy enough as a companion. While exploring the surroundings, I released a few small dragon followers and discovered a forest 10 kilometers southwest of Nazarick. Next to it is a village surrounded by farmland. Should we go and get some information? Just an ordinary village. After already informing him of the dangers of the unknown world, Sig still made this suggestion, which means that he has confirmed some things. Through the images I observed, I can confirm with 100% certainty that it is a very ordinary village. There are no signs of magic being used, and there are no equipped warriors. Most people are engaged in farm work. It is a very rural place. Faishu was obviously tempted. He wanted to go out for some fresh air. If it was really the kind of village described, it would definitely be necessary to investigate. However, his inner caution made him hesitate. Considering the current situation in Nazarick, would it be more appropriate to send a guardian to investigate? However, he did not want to put his companion's children in such a dangerous situation. Sig said again, sooner or later, we will have to come into contact with people from another world. In addition, I heard from them that the monsters around us have been agitated recently and they are discussing inviting adventurers. It is obvious that they have no ability to protect themselves. Momanga asked in surprise, how did you know that? He remembered that followers probably only shared vision and would not be able to reach such a level of intelligence. I can read lips, and I used my skills to learn their writing. Sig said seriously. Well, it seems that there is indeed a need for exploration. After a long silence, Momanga finally convinced himself that he had a selfish desire to get out, and he suddenly felt ashamed. Is it really good for the ruler to do this? Isn't it too arbitrary? Momanga sighed and drew circles on the table. Ah, Sig-san, you know that I was just a small clerk. Now I'm suddenly promoted to a high position. I always feel at a loss. Sig put down his teacup and spoke encouragingly, President, since you are able to lead Nazarick to become a top guild, are you still worried about not being able to be a good ruler? Don't forget that the Guardians are 100% loyal. Everyone wants to obey your command, including me. But I'm afraid of making a mistake. No one is perfect. You have to believe in yourself. I will always be by your side to assist you and be your solid backing. Just think of me as your mother's family to rely on. Momanga burst out laughing, what a weird metaphor, Sig-san, I'm not a married woman. So go ahead. Sig supported himself on the desk with both hands, his bright eyes staring straight into the empty eye sockets of the skull. Momanga felt like he was being targeted by a predator. Even though his empty head was empty, he still felt the burning sensation. His momentum gradually dropped, and he finally spoke out his biggest concern. But the Guardian? No problem, those can be solved. Sig straightened up and smiled meaningfully. Inside the office, Albedo and Demiurge both knelt on the floor. Greetings, Master Momanga, Master Sig. I wonder if you two have any instructions. Momanga glanced at the young man standing next to him and shouted, stand up. I'm not here to scold you today. I want to reward you. The two looked at each other and saw excitement in each of them. Albedo carefully hid her crazy eyes. She had already recognized the human-looking young man as Sig, and no matter how much he had changed, she couldn't hide it. The human mimicry is so handsome, it's really charming, Lord Sig. Sig suddenly felt a chill on his back. This body should be completely resistant to cold. Weird. Chapter 11. Although he was excited, Demiurge's rationality prevailed. Just as he was about to refuse, he heard a majestic voice ringing in his ears. Don't say that praise is enough. It is only natural to receive rewards for completing the work seriously. I don't want to become a ruler who ignores the efforts of my subordinates. Momanga's words were serious and powerful, and there was no joking in them at all. Demiurge tried his best to suppress the urge to wag his tail and lowered his head again. Thank you for your consideration, Momanga-sama. Momanga looked at Albedo, and the other party spoke calmly. May I ask what kind of reward Momanga-sama will give? If it is not specified, can I choose freely? Hearing what she said, Demiurge frowned slightly and his expression became complicated. Momanga spoke up, I'm sorry, Sig and I decided on the content of the reward without permission. If you are not satisfied with the reward, you are allowed to change it. Excuse me, I don't have such an idea. Albedo said hurriedly, glancing to the side with the corner of her eyes, but quickly retracting her eyes for fear of being discovered. Sig naturally noticed Albedo's gaze, but no one would have the heart to blame him too much when seeing such a beautiful woman showing such timidity in front of him. President, can you announce the answer now? Yes, I really shouldn't keep you in suspense. A gentle smile suddenly appeared on that face, and Momanga felt his heart tremble. He finally understood that being too handsome could also be very bothersome to others. After coming to his senses, he took out 2 rings, of course, the rings of Ainz gown. Commander Demiurge and Guardian Chief Albedo, I think both of you need this item. The two looked at each other again and shouted in unison, thank you very much. For the sake of ceremony, Sig took the ring from Momanga and gave it to the two of them respectively. The ring changes size immediately when it is put on the finger, becoming a size that matches the thickness of both fingers. Demiurge finally couldn't help but gently shake his spiked tail, trying his best to disguise his performance as elegant and natural. Albedo managed well this time. Even though her wings were trembling, they did not shake in a cute way. Instead, the smile on her lips was about to burst out. Ever since everyone was able to address Sig-sama, she had been feeling quite resentful, until now she felt a sense of superiority rising in her heart. Apart from Demiurge, she was the only one who received the ring personally given by Sig-sama. By the way, why did Lord Sig transform into a human form? Demiurge asked puzzledly. This question had been bothering him since he entered the door, and he finally asked it after the dust settled. This question disrupted Momanga's expectations. He was supposed to start talking about exploring the village after awarding the ring, but he didn't expect to jump straight here. Sig, you explain yourself. I'm sorry, Sig-san, for pushing the problem onto you. Please don't blame me for it. Sig looked at Momanga to rest assured. His blue eyes gave people a very calm feeling, as deep as the sea, and his hair was also a mysterious pure black. Momanga covered his face. This world was really unfair. He regretted very much not buying the race conversion item together. Because I'm going to the human village to gather information, I've made some special preparations. The 2 wise men of Nazarick knelt down together. With servants like them around, how could they trouble the Supreme Being to condescend to do such a thing? But since this decision has been made, it means that the two have already discussed it, and it would be tactless for them to refute it. Albedo's beautiful eyes flickered as she spoke eagerly, in that case, please allow me to follow you as a guard. If we encounter an attack from an unknown enemy, I am specialized in defense and can be used as a shield. That's right. Please think about it again. Demiurge agreed. Then there will be no one to guard Nazarick, and someone will also be needed to command. If we encounter danger, I can lead one person to evacuate quickly, but I can't guarantee it for one more person. I don't want you to make unnecessary sacrifices. Sig had anticipated the current conversation and had of course thought of reasons to refuse. To be honest, there was no need to refuse Albedo's permission to go with him, because they wouldn't be encountering strong enemies this time, so it wouldn't matter if there was one more person or one less person, but he planned to take Manga out to relax, so it would be more appropriate for just the two of them. Besides, most people in the Great Tomb hate humans. Of course, there are also some who like them, such as favorite foods, or people they like to play with. Only humans who died tragically can make everyone feel comfortable physically and mentally. What is certain is that Albedo would feel uncomfortable after following him, and he could not torture his subordinates for his own selfish reasons. Albedo pursed her lips and said nothing, but nodded to show her understanding. Seeing this, Manga ordered, raise the alert of Nazarick to a state where it can respond to external enemies at any time. Considering the possibility of unexpected situations, you can send some subordinates who are good at hiding to sneak into the village. Sig, your followers can stay in the surrounding forests and can also serve as a backup. Yes, sir. Well, the president has considered everything. Sig said sincerely. Even for a small dragon, it is not easy to hide in a village, unlike those invisible subordinates. No matter how conspicuous their appearance is, they will not be discovered without the skill of seeing through transparency. Manga felt a little embarrassed by the praise, even though he often heard more exaggerated words from the Guardians, but he knew that it was due to their loyalty and he was not such a great person. Sig's praise from his companion really gave him a lot of confidence, and he suddenly felt that he could do it again. I'll prepare the equipment first. The attributes of the human state are the weakest, and correspondingly the amount of equipment increases. When fully armed, it is only slightly weaker than the semi-human state. The advantage is that it is more versatile, capable of both offense and defense, and can use all skills. Manga nodded in agreement, as if it was a matter of course. Let's go in 15 minutes. Demiurge walked out of the door and was shocked to see Sig's half-smile on his face. He was the last one to go out, and Albedo was the second. They were supposed to leave in 15 minutes, so what happened that made Lord Sig squeeze out his precious time to wait for him here? Master Sig, do you have any other instructions? Nothing, I just want to confirm something. Sig bent down and pointed at the ring on his finger. How is it, are you happy to receive the ring? Demiurge suddenly realized that it was Lord Sig's work. He bowed like an elegant nobleman, and a gentle smile appeared on the devil's face. Thank you for your trouble. Nothing. Sig nodded with satisfaction, turned around and said, but don't tell Sebastian about this, just say it was sent by President Manga. Demiurge wagged his tail and watched Sig leave. When he could no longer see his back, he showed a helpless expression. It seems that Lord Sig has seen through me a long time ago. Chapter 12. When Sig came out in armor, Manga also disguised himself and put on a mask that could completely cover his face. Against the backdrop of that devilish mask, he actually looked a little funny. The Mask of Jealousy, whose full name is the Mask of the Jealous, can be obtained by logging in for more than 2 hours between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve. It does not have any special abilities, and even installing data to change the appearance is impossible. Many players who were looking forward to the rewards were immediately upset. They had to wait for 2 hours just to get something like this. The operating company was severely criticized, and even those in the guild who did not have masks were targeted. Christmas night, playing games, single, got the jealousy mask. Christmas night, girlfriend, wife, live streaming, no mask. For example, Takamaya didn't have a mask because he was spending the holiday with his wife and children. Many guild members had this mask, and Sig also got one, but he never wore it. There's no other reason, it's just too ugly, and weirdly ugly. It's hard to tell what the expression is, and the decorations are too gaudy. This is really naked malice towards single people. In comparison, Sig's outfit looks much more decent. The edge of his pulled-down helmet is light and streamlined, with a pair of wing-shaped decorations at the end. His whole body is wrapped in silver blue armor, and although he doesn't have a cape, he has an extremely handsome double-layered back hem. Looking down at his rough iron gloves, Manga fell into a deep state of inferiority. No wonder everyone said that warriors are the romance of men. So envious puff. Oh, did someone laugh just now? Sig-san, is it really okay for you to do this? Sig didn't know when a pair of gloves appeared in his hands. It would be more appropriate to call them armor because they were made of special materials and thus had both elasticity and hardness. I don't have a collection of masks, but this should be able to replace the gauntlet. Its defensive properties are average, but it can increase the magic power a bit, so it's better than nothing. Momonga accepted it with tears in his eyes. It was a great help. The attribute was not important. At least the appearance was acceptable. Then he said the name of the magic. Portal, a teleportation magic that ignores distance, very useful in the Yggdrasil game. If an enemy attacks, Sig will carry the flying mouse and run away as quickly as possible. Considering that the enemy may have resistance to time magic, he will move faster with comprehensive resistance. Although such a thing would not happen, during the discussion phase, Sig practiced it with Momonga, but it was a bit painful to hold back his laughter. As the magic expired, the portal behind them slowly closed, and the two stood on a high place overlooking everything below. Momonga sighed, "This is the village. It does feel very peaceful." "What's its name?" Sig replied, "I think it's called Khan Village." Noticing that there seemed to be a noise coming from afar, Momonga asked in confusion, "Is it a celebration? It seems very lively." Although he shouldn't laugh at this time, Momonga is sometimes too innocent. Sig chuckled and said ambiguously, "Probably." Suddenly, a barely perceptible chirping sound came into my ears. People who don't know what's going on might think it was a bird's cry, but the shadow flying at such a high speed was obviously not a bird. A creature with bat wings landed on Sig's shoulder. It was damp, as if it had been washed specially to avoid dirtying the armor. It opened its mouth and let out a few sharp chirps. "This is the dragon follower Sig mentioned. It looks like a lizard with wings, but it is indeed a dragon. Low-level dragons are more like beasts and cannot speak. They can only be summoned by spending a small amount of magic power and can exist for a long time. It looks like the village was attacked, but it wasn't by monsters, it was by knights in armor," Sig said, frowning. Faishu's mood suddenly dropped to the bottom. The confidence that he had felt good before was no longer there, and he became conflicted. Should we save him or not? From the perspective of Nazarick's interests, it is obviously not worthwhile to create hatred with the country to which the knights belong for the sake of a village, not to mention that they don't know anything about the new world at present. What if there is some hidden secret? He couldn't let Nazarick be put in danger. Sig's ears moved and his nose smelled blood. I seemed to hear screams. This should be a massacre. How could such a thing happen? It seemed as if Faishu was awakened, and he did not say anything about not helping the person in danger. If Takamai had stood by and watched me die, I wouldn't be here now. Sig used to be a policeman, so even if he described it in calm words, his expression under the armor should be angry. Even if you have turned into a monster at heart, you must not forget your original intention. Let's go save them, Sig-san. Oh, has it been decided so quickly? Since he still retains his human part, Sig has no aversion to rescuing humans, and judging by the plot, this village will indeed be useful in the future. As for why we met by chance, it must be fate, there was absolutely no deliberate element involved. Sig held his chin and thought for a moment, then smiled helplessly, "There's really nothing I can do about you. Let's notify everyone in Nazarick first." Momonga nodded and immediately sent a message, "Sebastian, I'm currently in a place called Karn Village, which has been massacred by knights." Sebastian manipulated the telescope skillfully, and the current scene of Karn Village appeared on the screen. After a long silence, Sebastian tried his best to suppress his anger and said, "Yes, I saw it. I plan to save this village. There may be an invasion of knights around Nazarick. Raise the alert to the highest level and notify Demiurge and Albedo. Does Master Momonga/Sig need an escort?" 2 messages were sent to 2 people respectively. "No need, I'm just a frontline warrior. Take care of Nazarick for Momonga for now, Sebastian." Sig instructed. "Yes, sir." Sebastian closed the message thoughtfully, a red light flashing in his eyes. He couldn't let the 2 adults down. Dragon thunder, a dazzling white light emanated from the body of a knight, and in an instant he turned into smelly black charcoal. Momonga strongly suspected that the weakness of these knights was only due to their poor defense. Perhaps there were stronger ones who were just hiding in the dark and not showing up. Sig listened helplessly and said jokingly, "If we don't look for him now, your lost Death Knight might wipe out the knights. We can't leave any of them alive. That shouldn't happen, but as a human shield, why would you abandon the people you need to protect and chase after them?" Even though it was my order. The Death Knight is the meat shield that Faisal likes to use the most. The back row output without the front row is like being naked. Okay, let's finish it quickly. Seeing that you are so relaxed, I won't do it. Well, it's also important to retain your strength. Sig glanced helplessly at the corpse on the ground. He didn't expect that he would be the one who suffered in the end. The impact of seeing a living person die in front of him was really huge. Alas, it's another day of full acting skills. Chapter 13. In just a dozen minutes, the village almost turned into hell. Many people died at the hands of the knights, and those who were still alive were driven together like livestock. Even the children were not spared. If you want to successfully complete the task, this level is very correct. Weak and pitiful children can often play an unexpected role in most places. The ruthless knight and the desperate villagers are in a relationship of predator and prey, with the latter being powerless to resist. In this darkest hour, the Death Knight descended from the sky like a god. Before this, no one present could have imagined that an adult man in armor could be thrown into the air so easily. Everyone was so shocked by the power of the Death Knight that they were mentally collapsed. Even though they could no longer hold their swords steadily, several knights still surrounded the Death Knight. Apart from the sound of teeth chattering, no other sound could be heard. If they have done something wrong, please let the laws of the kingdom punish them instead of facing this monster. There are people who are under extreme pressure and keep saying things like, God, please save me, but unfortunately there is no God here, only death. Manga casts flying magic and floats in the air. Sig didn't learn this magic because he already had wings. But now his wings would be too conspicuous, so he was blocked by Flying Squirrel's magic. After flying over the village, Manga sighed, it seems that your worries have come true. I have to ask the Death Knight to leave one or two alive. Someone needs to pass this matter on to the ears of the ruler. If there is no proof from the parties involved, it might have a bad impact on Ainz reputation. Manga wants to create an image of chivalry, in order to send a signal of goodwill to possible players, indicating that they are acting from the perspective of justice. This was also for the future of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. That's what we should do. There was no expression on Sig's stern face, and his facial muscles were very stiff. Tisk, this is too bloody. Some were torn in half, with their pink internal organs scattered on the ground, others were cut in half and struggled for a long time before dying. The Death Knight is indeed the undead, the embodiment of evil, who deliberately plays tricks on humans just to enjoy their dying struggles. It's exactly the same as Wolf Girl. In fact, most people in the Great Tomb are like this. I don't know who the newly born Death Knight learned it from. Sig thought he had a strong ability to withstand stress, but he didn't expect the impact on the scene would still exceed his expectations. Suddenly I felt a little envious of Flying Squirrel, whose heart had turned into a monster. He didn't have the skill of forced calmness. Manga was already used to talking to the helmet, but it would be more strange to talk to the face. He also couldn't guess what the expression was in the invisible part. After a moment of silence, a serious expression emerged on the skull's face. Sig-san, I want to use Ainz as my name. I don't know if it will work, but if Ainz becomes famous in this world, I think my companions who have also traveled through time will know about the existence of Nazarick. Sig turned his attention to the conversation and nodded in agreement. Yeah, what if Kuru also traveled through time? Although it is impossible, Hey Luo went offline too early, it is still enough to take it as words of comfort. That's what Manga thought. Judging from the time, this is entirely possible. It would be great if this were true. Noticing the movement in the distance, Sig frowned slightly. One of his followers had lost contact. The small dragons that are good at hiding are only in the teens or so, but they cannot be killed casually by the natives, unless they are from the Sicilian theocracy. Only angels with holy attributes can be so restrained against dragons with dark attributes. One of my followers was killed by the enemy. I will go investigate first to be on the safe side. Can I leave this to you? Flying Squirrel realized the seriousness of the matter and immediately nodded in agreement. The work here had already come to the end and the danger had been greatly reduced, so they could act separately. If it is an enemy that Sig cannot deal with alone, he can only mobilize multiple members of Nazarick or activate Lupter. Be safe. Even though he was the lowest ranking follower, Sig felt very uncomfortable in his heart. This was probably a different kind of protecting one's shortcomings. He originally thought that he was not affected, but perhaps he was the one who was most deeply affected, and the bloody scene was not so annoying to him. The road has narrowed, Sunshine Scripture. I'll be back soon. Transformation form Sig switched to half-human form, his horns and tail reappeared, dense scales grew on his skin, and a pair of wings grew on his back. Based on the bat-like wings, some feathers grew on the tail end, which was both beautiful and practical, and greatly increased the flying speed. There was a sound of breaking through the air when the wings flapped, and the wind stirred up by the sound made the robe on Momonga stick tightly to his body. To be honest, he was not worried about Sig's safety. Sig's magic system was Holy and Dragon, and both had permanent skills to enhance HP recovery. Especially the Holy system's full recovery, which can restore full health in an instant as long as there is still a breath left. Although it is a special skill with a limited number of uses, if used well, it can give you several more lives, which is more convenient than resurrection magic. Don't forget to leave a few people alive, Sig-san. Is it resolved? A man with a scar on his face walked out of the crowd, his glass-like pupils flashing a cold light. The 3 fire angels dispersed, and together with several more floating in the air, the dark dragon that was surrounded in the middle turned into black smoke and disappeared. This is a dependent dragon, right? Why is it here? Could it be that a dragon king has appeared nearby? We should ask the Black Scripture for help. This mission should have been theirs. This is really weird. We at Sunshine Scripture are not good at stealth tracking, so it doesn't make sense to use this as training. A wave of uneasiness surged in the heart of Sunshine Holy Scripture Nigan. It was really a bad start. Asking for support is also impossible. The mission of the Black Scripture is to deal with the resurrected Dragon King of Destruction, and for this purpose it is protecting the most beautiful city. The Wind and Glory Scripture is hunting down the traitor who stole the crown of the wise. Neither side has the spare energy to provide support. The mission this time is to kill the kingdom's strongest knight, Gazef. It would be nice if I could pretend I didn't see the dragon, but that would only be fooling myself. No problem. I still have the treasure given by the bishop, plus the ability to enhance the summoning of monsters, even the devil is no problem for me. As expected, you guys killed my family members. It was a simple question, without any accusation, but Negan shuddered. When he looked up, he saw a man in armor in front of him. Who are you? Do I need to ask again? That dragon is my follower. Sig said coldly. I'm Negan Gilide Lewin of the Sunshine Scripture. I'm on a mission now. Who are you? Negan asked tremblingly. He could not think of any other dragon as his follower except the Dragon King, and the person in front of him was obviously not a human being. He saw something that looked like horns. The Council Nation is ruled by dragons, and they may have intervened because they felt they were crossing the line, but it's actually not a big deal. In any case, the most important thing is to save your life. I'm Sigris Hrasvag. Sig readily stated his real name. Negan searched frantically in his mind, but he didn't seem to hear this name. Could it be a pseudonym? I heard that the former 13 hero's silver armor was in a dragon-like form. Could it be him? As a legendary hero, it is not surprising that he has the ability to live forever. Maybe there is an elf's face under the armor, and Fluda may have lived for 200 years. Yes, his mind was really confused. How could he possibly meet the Dragon King? However, he could still deal with it at the hero level with his trump card. Although I don't know why you are here, please don't delay our work in the Cillian theocracy. I can apologize for the matter of the dependents, otherwise we will not show mercy even if you are a hero. Ha 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 ha. Sig couldn't help laughing. He actually mistook him for the Platinum Dragon King's armor. How stupid and pathetic. Chapter 14. The Cillian theocracy was founded by 6 great gods who descended 600 years ago. Although they are called gods, they are actually players who were teleported here when the server was shut down. Sig doesn't know if there will be more players coming in the future, but since the author has written this story, Nazarick is likely to be the last batch. Who can predict what will happen 100 years from now? Let's just focus on the present. Sig scoffed unabashedly, maybe ignorance is bliss. Negan said angrily, you rude guy, you will pay for your stupidity. Summon the angels together. As he was speaking, a dozen more archangels of fire were created. Together with the angels of surveillance floating in the sky, there were at least 20 angels on the scene. Such a number of angels looks quite intimidating. In the hierarchical theocracy, only those in a higher position could speak to him like this. The person in front of him was just a suspected Silver Knight, and perhaps just a poor imitator. Sig said righteously, my companion in Zoolgown will be here soon. He is the greatest magic caster and can kill you effortlessly. If you want to do it, you better hurry up. Another unfamiliar name. Negan's patience had reached its limit. He didn't remember anyone with this name among the 13 heroes. So what? He's just a magic caster. If you want to threaten me, you've got the wrong person. I didn't mean that. I just wanted to let you know. Sig raised his hand and snapped his fingers. There seemed to be a sound of glass breaking around him. And I didn't say that to you either. Suddenly something unexpected happened, and Negan panicked. What happened? Sig's tone changed. Hey? Didn't you notice that you are being monitored by intelligence magic? Now that I've finished speaking, I don't want to be spied on again. Am I being monitored by my country? While Negan was stunned, his subordinates beside him screamed. It was a cry of extreme fear. He was very familiar with this kind of scene when facing a large number of powerful people. Some independence, a huge magic circle unfolded on the ground, and a huge object was born from the shadow. It was a giant dragon with a completely black body, purple lines flowing on its hard scales, and devil-like horns hovering on its head, like the god of death returning from hell. The black dragon lowered its front legs deeply and lowered its neck obediently, which symbolized complete submission. Negan and his subordinates were stunned by the shock. This dragon was undoubtedly a Dragon King level being. But to be summoned as a follower so easily, I really can't imagine what kind of monster the summoner is. Sig stepped onto the dragon's back. This is the highest level dark dragon I can summon. Let your angel try it out. If you have any killer moves, use them quickly. Although it is said to be the highest level, it is actually only LV80, which is not outstanding among high-level followers. The most powerful dragon he can summon is an ice dragon, which is level 99. With the mount's enhanced skills, it can exert the strength of a level 100 player. Negan reached for the magic sealing crystal in his arms and made a secret decision. The enemy before us is very difficult to deal with, and it is indeed necessary to use the highest level angels. Although the conditions for summoning again are difficult, it would be even more troublesome if it fell into the hands of the enemy. Now is not the time to hesitate. Buy me some time to summon the angels. Negan shouted with all his might. The subordinates beside him were so scared that their teeth were chattering, and they took heavy steps to block Negan. Facing this behemoth head-on, it feels like even your breathing will be killed. Angels were summoned one after another and attacked at an extremely fast speed. The black dragon just slapped the angels casually, and the angels exploded like mosquitoes. The gap in strength was too huge. The guy who wanted to attack from behind was also lashed away by the tail. Even the angel of surveillance, who was good at defense, couldn't withstand 2 attacks. Lord Sig, are you okay? The black dragon uttered the words in an awkward voice. Sig looked at the flying dust in the distance, thinking that it was the army passing by, and there was no need for him to waste time here. Then he urged, hurry up and deal with them. I'm a little tired of watching them. Yes. The black dragon then stopped talking, and a bright light condensed in its mouth. This was a powerful move unique to the dragon clan. Just at this moment, the summoning of the highest level angel was completed, and Negan laughed confidently. How about this? This is the highest level angel, capable of killing the devil alone. This strange creature made of wings is the Archangel of Majesty. It radiates something like holy light and holds a golden staff in both hands. But in the face of the terrifying dragon's breath, all this is useless. A stream of terrifying dark energy gushed out, and the Archangel of glorious light was pierced through as soon as he appeared. The damage exceeded his limit and turned into tiny points of light that disappeared into the air. Even the clouds in the sky were blown away, leaving behind charred marks. Negan collapsed and began to beg for mercy. Sir Silver Knight, please let me live, even if I am the only one left. The black dragon said nothing, but turned to look at Sig, as if asking whether to kill him directly. Sig thought for a moment and decided to be kind. Okay, I can spare you, but it will be very troublesome if you resist. Negan quickly patted his chest and assured, I won't resist. As the captain, I can guarantee it. Sig said kindly, he who knows the times is a hero, Captain Negan. Thank you for your magnanimity. Negan said quickly. The theocracy soldiers behind them also breathed a sigh of relief. Thanks to the blessings of the 6 gods, they actually survived. Sig jumped off the dragon's back, and the dragon disappeared into the shadows. Of course, he was not being too naive. There was no point in killing these people. He should study other uses for them. These were precious specimens. Is it Demiurge? Yes, Lord Sig. There is no invasion around Nazarick. Aura and Mare have already gone to Karn village as backup. I will send a few humans back. I'll leave them to you. Remember not to kill them. Yes, sir. In the meeting room, the remaining guardians gathered together. Is Lord Sig okay? Did you mention me? Albedo smiled expectantly. Demiurge shook his head helplessly. Albedo, you seem to have a lot of troubles lately. It's not good to suppress yourself all day long. Albedo's face flushed. But Lord Sig refused to accept me as I am now. I had no choice but to hide my true nature. Hey, Albedo, you haven't captured Lord Sig yet. Shaltir smiled while covering her mouth. Albedo's expression twisted. You haven't even touched the edge of Lord Momonga's clothes. I have been to Lord Sig's room. Hey? That's because I'm responsible for guarding the floor. Don't try to seduce Master Momonga with your expired body. BCH. Hearing the two quarreling again, Cocytus sighed and decided to serve Lord Sig together. Demiurge smiled and said, Isn't it good to have such a competitive spirit? Then the Supreme Being's child will be born soon. You mean the young master? That's a wonderful sight. Ah, it's great. Demiurge turned to look at Sebastian, touched the ring on his hand, and gave a meaningful smile. Sebastian was full of questions. Was he showing off to him? Chapter 15. Portal. Demiurge walked out with elegant steps, bowed, and looked coldly at the people of the Sunlight Scripture. Lord Sig, these are the humans you want to take away. Sig asked in confusion, Demiurge, why are you here? How can Lord Sig personally escort these lowly creatures? If your subordinates hadn't stopped them, Albedo might have disobeyed orders and come here. Demiurge said helplessly. When he told Albedo about this alone, she screamed in a frantic voice. He also thought that this matter was a little inappropriate and perhaps had a deeper meaning. Are these humans of much use? Lord Sig must have his reasons for doing things, and we must think of the reasons as soon as possible and never let him down. With this thought in mind, Demiurge rushed over quickly. Albedo, that's right, thank you for the reminder. Sig almost forgot about this, but thanks to Demiurge's reminder, he finally understood once again the status of humans in Nazarick. Even though he had the idea of using these people and thought that they would not mind being tortured, he still regarded humans as creatures not much different from himself. Demiurge, on the other hand, described them as inferior creatures, barely above livestock. Sir Silver Knight, is this also your companion? Negan was truly frightened at this point, barely able to utter a single sound, and his men could only stand there with weak legs, concentrating all their energy to not fall to the ground. With pointed ears and a metal tail, can he still be considered human? Perhaps he is a subhuman, but what does it mean to be a lower creature? There were so many questions in my mind that my brain, which was already filled with fear, was about to shut down. Demiurge frowned and uttered a word, kneel down. Shut up. He pushed up his glasses, a light flashed in his eyes. How dare a mere human interrupt? You can't even listen respectfully? You can only save your lives thanks to the mercy of Lord Sig. Seeing that the spines of several people were about to be broken, Sig said, Stop it, Demiurge, don't kill them, they may be useful. Yes. Demiurge also realized that he was affected by the anger. Humans were too weak to withstand such strong pressure. He issued 2 more orders, and several people passed through the portal like zombies and soon disappeared from their sight. Lord Sig, I would like to ask, why do they call you the Silver Knight? Demiurge suddenly asked as he stepped into the portal. Sig responded casually, without turning his head, Oh, they got the wrong guy. I see. I understand. Demiurge smiled confidently and immersed himself in the vortex of the portal. Sig finally reacted after the portal closed. Wait, Zyadai, what do you understand now? Sig transformed into human form and came to Khan village with a depressed mood. As soon as he entered the village, he found that everyone was looking at him with wariness. It was normal for people who had just been slaughtered by the knights to behave like this, and there was more fear in their eyes. At this time, a pair of sisters caught his attention. The girl who looked like the older sister had pigtails that reached her chest. Her hair was a common brown color, and her skin was a healthy wheat color. At this moment, she was comforting her sister, holding the younger girl in her arms, and her eyes were also peeking at him. Who are you? Someone finally asked. Sig took off his helmet, walked up to the 2 girls, smiled gently, and said softly, It's all right now. My companion is in Seoul gown. Is he here? The girl nodded blankly. She had never seen such a handsome man before. Even the nobles did not have such a face. For a moment, she forgot her fear and a blush appeared on her face. The handsome man's skin was flawless and he had the most beautiful eyes I had ever seen. They seemed to be able to speak. At this moment, a distressed look appeared on this handsome face. My name is Sigris Rasvor. What is your name? Annie Emmett. Just call me Annie. Then Anli, could you please take me to find my companions? Seeing that his kind attitude worked, Sig continued. Anli looked down at her sister and shook her head. That adult's house is in the village. The house closest to the square is there. There is an open space in front of the door. Yes, the square is the largest open space. We all do farm work there. Although I really wanted to say something more to the handsome guy in front of me, my frightened sister was more important. As a country girl, I couldn't think so much. I see. Thank you for showing me the way. If you don't mind, please take this. Sig handed her 2 horns. These are the Goblin General's horns. They can summon goblins to protect you. This is so precious, and I didn't help at all. Henry was now really blushing with shame. How could she accept the gift when she was so disrespectful to her companion who had saved the village? Take it, you deserve it. If you want to thank someone, thank my comrade in Seoul gown. It was he who wanted to save your village. Sig finished his explanation with a smile and walked towards the village chief's house, not giving Anli any chance to refuse. He had quite a good impression of this simple girl. Anyone would feel guilty if she lost what she deserved because of his interference. After knocking on the door, a middle-aged peasant woman opened it. After seeing his appearance, her voice tone rose a few degrees, and her words sounded more like an exclamation than a question. Are you Insama's companions? Sig nodded and gave a proper smile. For people in society, it is also possible to control what expressions to show and when. The village head's wife couldn't help but sigh. I didn't expect he was a handsome man. The village chief hurriedly said, My dear, you are so rude. Please come in. Sig walked up to Momanga. No, he should be called Ainz now, but that doesn't affect his daily address. In Nazarick, call him the president, but outside, just call him Ainz like everyone else. Yes. Ainz, everything is done and everything went well. It just comes to your mind. Although Ainz wanted to complain about what Ainz was called, he held back in front of outsiders. Well, we are discussing the compensation. The village chief nodded. Sig saw the map on the table and understood Ainz's intention. After exchanging glances with him, he spoke. I noticed that a group of troops were approaching here. Should we defend ourselves? The village chief was suddenly shocked. Looking at the people who were running around in a panic, Ainz whispered, Is that okay? If I didn't know you well, I would have thought you were just a mean guy who likes to play tricks on others. Sig smiled, how could that be? Chapter 16. Ainz showed a reassuring attitude, don't worry, just leave it to us. This time it's special free assistance. The village chief calmed down a little, his eyes became determined, perhaps he was ready to risk it all. Sig put on his helmet, his armor making a crisp clanging sound, and opened the door. Since Ainz is ready to protect you, I will not sit idly by. The village chief hesitated to speak. He had heard Ainz say that his companions had gone to deal with the enemies outside the village, so they did not show up. He could not neglect them for this reason and had to express his gratitude as well. He is Sigli Hrisforg, my most trusted companion, but he doesn't like others to call him Sigli. Just call him Sig. Perhaps because the village chief showed special respect to his companions, Ainz felt much better and his tone became much slower, almost gentle. That's it. Sig, who had already walked out of the room, turned around and responded. The village chief asked in surprise, Is Lord Sig's hearing so good? Ha ha ha, this is the most basic thing. Among the people I know, Sig is one of the best fighters. Maybe he's the best. Ainz couldn't help laughing. Ainz couldn't tell who was stronger between Takamai and Sig, as they had basically never engaged in PvP. In the guild, Sig is very low-key and only focuses on defeating bosses and completing tasks. Only when he is free will he have a brief exchange with him who has been online for a long time. They both have a hobby of collecting, so they have a lot of common topics, but he prefers to collect rare items and creatures, while Sig likes to collect all kinds of equipment. The village chief nodded blankly, looking like he didn't understand at all. The kingdom of Riestais, commonly known as the kingdom, Gazef Stranov is the warrior captain of the kingdom, and he is leading a team of cavalry and gradually approaching. Sig stood nonchalantly at the back. He had no interest in Gazef. Ainz might appreciate such an upright person, but he would just feel bored. The kingdom's warrior captain was of no use and was destined to become a victim. There was no need to waste time on him. Gazef quickly noticed Sig after scanning the crowd. Perhaps because he was also a warrior, he could sense something different and so he stared at him for a long time. Finally, he fixed his gaze on Ainz. "Your Excellency." Ainz stopped the village chief from speaking. "Don't bother. I'm Ainz Olgaun, a magic caster. My companions and I saw that the village was in trouble, so we came here to help." Sig continued, "I am Sigli Hrasvalg, Sir Warrior Captain." Gazef dismounted and bowed deeply to the two men. "Thank you very much for saving this village." "Don't say that. We are adventurers on a journey, and we are doing it for reward." "Excuse my ignorance. I have never heard of your names, but Lord Hrasvalg is dressed like a legendary hero." Because there was a senior he knew who was one of the 13 heroes, he had heard a lot about the deeds of heroes from her. The one that impressed Gazef the most was the Silver Knight. I don't know why, but that senior always seems dissatisfied every time he talks about the Silver Knight, saying that he did something unforgivable, and he will talk about him again the next time they meet, which means that the Silver Knight is still alive. He couldn't think of anyone other than the Silver Knight who had such strength and wore silver armor. Perhaps the unforgivable thing was abandoning his companions. No wonder Senior Legulet was so angry. The second time he was mistaken, Sig felt that it was too much of a coincidence. The color of the armor might be a little similar, and some of the decorations did have dragon elements, but this was really just a coincidence. "That's such a coincidence," Sig said lightly, neither admitting nor denying. Seeing that he was unwilling to talk, Gazef stopped talking. Whether it was that person or not, it was none of his business. He then turned his attention to Ainz and asked a series of questions. Ainz felt overwhelmed for a moment, and had to explain in detail, even telling him about the ambush, but he did not mention the sunlight scripture. This was the result of an agreement between Sig and Ainz. Rather than letting the rumors spread, it would be better to let the warrior captain act as a messenger and leave a good impression in front of the kingdom's ruler. It's impossible to do good things without letting others know. "I see. They are most likely coming for me. They are from the Sicilian theocracy. They are obviously from the Special Forces 6 Colors scripture. I really need them to mobilize the nobles." Gazef sighed, appearing calm and composed on the surface, but inwardly he felt greatly relieved. Could it be that this person who is suspected to be the Silver Knight specially rescued him for the sake of Senior Legulet? If so, the probability that it is him is even greater. During the conversation, Sig quietly left and walked to a corner where no one would notice him. Then an 8-limbed assassin insect appeared. Because it is an invisible monster, no one will notice it even though it has a very eye-catching appearance. "Master Sig, please follow me." Walking deeper into the forest, Sig saw Mare and Aura. Both of them seemed very happy to see him, especially Mare. Lord Sig, what do you want to talk to me and my sister about?" Mare said in a soft voice. Aura jumped down from the tree and landed lightly on the ground. "Mare, you need to be more respectful to Sig-sama. Your current attitude is just nonsense." Sig waved his hand. "It's okay, the president is dealing with the kingdom's warrior leader. I was bored so I came to find you. You don't have to be so respectful in front of me." Aura's eyes sparkled, and she said with great energy, "Mr. Momonga and Mr. Sig have handled the matter perfectly, right? They are amazing. They are worthy of being the Supreme Beings." Sig touched Aura's soft hair and rubbed her head like a child. "The president has changed the name to this in order to promote the name of Ainz Olgaun. From now on, you must call me Ainz-sama. Is that so?" Aura's face was steaming as if it was about to be cooked. Mare clenched the staff in his hand. Before his expression changed, Sig rubbed his head. "Does Mare know too?" Yes. Mare nodded. "But, the Guardians already know about it. We are not the last to know about it, are we?" Sig smiled and shook his head. "No, you are the first to know. Remember to keep it a secret. The president will gather everyone to announce this matter." Aura covered her mouth in surprise. "We won't say anything careless." Mare lowered his head, blushed and laughed secretly. "The first one, he. Well, I'll go back first." You'd better prepare to retreat. Sig heard that the work over there was almost over, so he gave some instructions and left in a hurry. Aura held her head with her hands. Why did Sig Sama tell us such an important thing? By the way, Mare, it seems that you like Sig Sama very much. You always take the initiative to talk to him. Mare tilted his head. Lord Bubbletopot set it up like this. He said that scheming people are attracted to each other. What does that mean? Chapter 17. The 9th floor of the Great Tomb of Nazarick, Spa Resort. Sig looked at the hot spring in front of him that was emitting a mysterious blue light, with a thoughtful expression. Ainz smiled and explained, this is the Cherenk hot springs, a secret hot spring with atomic energy. I heard that it can cure certain diseases, but I haven't verified it. At most, it can only relieve back pain. It's enough for a welcome treat. Is that so? Sig took off his armor and equipment, walked into the water wearing only a bath towel, and his tail splashed water. After returning to Nazarick, he transformed into his most commonly used half-human form. Perhaps because he was not familiar with it, he always felt that the human form was too oppressive and he was most comfortable this way. Ainz was already using a brush to clean his body. The bristles made a crackling sound as they touched the bones. Oh, this body of mine is too hard to clean. Sig looked down at his body and actually saw 8-pack abs. Although his skin was an abnormally dark color, his figure was absolutely perfect, as if it had been carefully sculpted by the creator. Not as exaggerated as a bodybuilder, but not skinny either. However, this body does not seem to be easy to clean. Although dragon scales are not all over the body, there are some hard silver-white scales scattered on the back and waist and abdomen, which can easily harbor dirt. Sig reluctantly asked, are there any more brushes? Ainz then handed him a brush. The bristles are quite hard. I've worn out several of them, so I switched to this one. After taking the brush, Sig also started to brush his body. The sound of brushing could be heard in the hot spring. The two of them looked like brothers in distress. Sig, who had just finished brushing his tail, looked at the shiny scales and felt a sense of satisfaction. Seeing Ainz struggling to brush the bones on the inside of his body, he reminded him. Try a slime bath next time. I don't like the sticky feeling, and it's not like taking a hot spring bath. As an orthodox Japanese, hot spring bathing is ingrained in his nature, and Ainz was still stubborn at this time. Okay, do you want me to help you? Sig said with a smile. He put his hand inside the bone, wondering how Ainz would feel, and wanted to experiment. Why? Ainz suddenly felt that Sig's eyes were a little scary, and he waved his hands hastily. Forget it, I'm almost done here, let's talk about the next progress. Okay. Sig had stood up, then sat down again, leaning comfortably on the edge. I've asked Demiurge to bring them to the interrogator. They'll be able to get information soon. I think they should be considered a good fighting force in this world. Ainz pinched his chin and said, well, I plan to have Sebastian and Sololo disguised as master and servant to go to the kingdom to gather information, and have Shaltir capture some more people with special skills. Shaltir. Although Demiurge is more suitable, he also has to take care of Nazarick's internal affairs. Shaltir, who has the ability to control minds, can also handle this task. She is also very strong. Ainz made this decision after careful consideration, as he did not want to put his companion's children in danger. Shaltir and Sebastian were both strong fighters in Nazarick, so it would be safer to send them out. Sig hesitated for a moment. The current plot direction had not deviated too much, and the familiar information was enough. He is a dragon knight himself, able to face ordinary true dragon kings alone. With this powerful insurance, he can do whatever he wants in the other world. However, Shaltir's blood frenzy is a big problem. I'll go with Sebastian and the others. I've already learned the language of the other world, and I'll help Shaltir. Although he intentionally revealed that it was Ainz Olgaun and his companions who solved the Sunlight Codex, it is hard to say what the Cillian theocracy was thinking. It was a coincidence that Shaltir ran into the people from the Black Scripture, but the reason for this coincidence was that Ainz's counterintelligence barrier made the Cillian theocracy mistakenly believe that the Dragon King of Destruction had resurrected, so they used world-class items in an attempt to bring the Dragon King under their command. If Shaltir's locking skill purifying throwing spear hadn't killed the person who launched the allure of the nation, she might have really been controlled. The Black Codex itself is not scary enough, what matters is the existence of the world item Stunning Beauty. Sig doesn't want Shaltir to be controlled under his nose. Is this okay? Ainz asked uneasily. His first thought was that it was a bit exaggerated, but after thinking about it carefully, he realized that although Shaltir was strong enough, her mental state was indeed not stable enough. Once a mistake is made, it will be a bottomless abyss, so it is right to be fully prepared. Don't worry, just leave it to me. You are the one who inherited the name of Ainz, and I will assist you wholeheartedly. Sig patted his chest and assured, with a confident smile on his face. Ainz blushed, even though he had no face. Sig-san, stop joking. I'm serious. He really hoped that one of his companions would run up to him and ask him why he monopolized this name, and he would be happy to change back to Flying Squirrel, but unfortunately this was just a fantasy. I'm serious too. Okay, stop being sentimental. We still have work to do. In the throne room, many people were kneeling. Ainz, wearing a gorgeous robe, slowly walked up to the throne, holding the guild scepter in his hand. Sig stood nearby as a matter of course. He was fully armed and his face could not be seen clearly. The red light from his eyes shone through his helmet, giving people a great sense of pressure. Albedo knelt beside the throne, Sebastian was at the bottom of the stairs, and the guards were lined up one by one. Gao Kangda and Victim were usually not there, so except for them, almost all the NPCs gathered here. From now on, I will change my name to Ainz. Our goal from now on is to make Ainz an eternal legend. Sig lowered his head slightly and spoke clearly, Long live Ainz. Long live Lord Ainz. We will swear allegiance to the Supreme Commander, Lord Ainz, until death. The sound of shouting Long live the throne continued to be heard from the throne hall, and everyone shouted loudly with their blood boiling. Ainz sat on the throne and looked down. He was also infected by the situation. Just as he was about to sigh, a flash of green light appeared and his mood returned to being dull again. Being forced to stay calm can be really maddening at times, but staying calm is necessary in order to lead Nazarick, and it feels really uncomfortable. Sig was humming a song softly, and was obviously in a good mood. Just as he was thinking about what to eat for dinner, he suddenly felt something was wrong. At some point, Albedo looked up at him, then lowered her head shyly when she saw she was discovered. Sig smiled helplessly when he saw this. Albedo was really cute when she was normal. In a place where no one could see, Albedo whispered, Long live Lord Sig. Chapter 18. In the cloakroom, Sig was choosing an inconspicuous suit of armor. He was going to play the role of a young lady's escort knight, so he couldn't be too ostentatious. Because there were too many of them, he searched for a long time before finding a light armor. The style was very low-key, and the color was also an inconspicuous black iron. Next, just find the lining, the most common kind. Opening the closet door where clothes were stored, Sig was dazzled by the thousands of fashions. He began to regret why he had collected so many. He looked at the other person in the room, Yuri, can I ask for your help? It's my honor. The combat maid Yuri adjusted her glasses, walked forward to take over the organizing work, and picked out clothes that could be worn outside in just a few minutes. During this time, she did not forget to check whether the necklace around her neck was secure and adjusted her head a little. As a headless knight and a zombie, Yuri's head can be taken off. In order not to embarrass herself in front of the Supreme Being, she still has to confirm it. Butler Sebastian is responsible for Ainz's security and protection, while daily services are handed over to Narberal Gamma, the third female combat maid. Sig is always accompanied by Yuri. As all of them were Supreme Beings, this was the most reasonable distribution they could think of, and it gradually became an unspoken rule. Thanks to you, Yuri. Sig breathed a sigh of relief. He really solved a big problem. Yuri smiled. Thank you, Lord Sig. This is my duty. I'll leave my sister Suo Liak Siang in your care. Solia Shang Epsilon is also the third daughter of the seven sisters. She is the fifth in name order, but that is just for convenience of address. Its true form is an amorphous slime, and it likes to watch humans slowly melt inside its body. In some ways, it can be said that it is quite fond of humans. Unlike the upright Yuri, Soraka has a justice value of -400, which makes her an evil type. It is natural for an elder sister to worry about her younger sister, so Sig readily agreed. Even though he retained the human part, he was mainly focused on Nazarick. If you are on the evil side, there are some things that you cannot delve too deeply into. If you want to be on the human side, just leave Nazarick. Since he knew the direction of the plot, Sig had already done some self-improvement, so he had the psychological quality to do so. There was a knock on the door. "Lord Sig, are we ready to set off?" Sebastian asked politely. Sig dressed with Yuri's undeniable help and responded aloud, "Sebastian, I'm ready, you can bring Soraka in." "Yes." Sebastian was still wearing the same clothes. He was a butler himself, and now he had to play the role of a butler. It was really a perfect match for his profession. Suo Liuxiang has changed into a dress, and her long curly golden hair complements it perfectly. At first glance, she looks like a daughter of a noble family. I don't know if it's because the skirt is too ordinary, but the maid outfit is more suitable. This makes us sigh at the designer's intelligence. Hey Luo, you are such a person. Lord Sig, I still think that being a maid is more suitable for my position. Suo Liuxiang felt that it was too unreasonable to let the Supreme Being serve as his bodyguard. Hasn't this been discussed? I don't have the confidence that I can play the role of the young master well. If he gets exposed because of me, that would be putting the cart before the horse. Sig said with a smile. The original plan was for Sebastian to be the butler, Suo Liuxiang to be the maid, and Sig to play the young master served by them. But the proposal did not pass. On the one hand, Sig is not so confident in his acting skills, but Suo Liuxiang's acting skills are comparable to those of an actress, so he feels more at ease to leave the role to her. On the other hand, Sig was still thinking of being lazy. It was not as easy to play a delicate young master as it was to play a silent knight. This was his job. Actually, it would be okay to let Sig on the show, his acting skills might be better than Suo Liuxiang's, but that would be boring, and we wouldn't see everyone looking awkward. Please don't say that. Lord Sig would never make a mistake. Suo Liuxiang said hurriedly. That's right. Sebastian and Yuri nodded in response. The idea that the Supreme Being would not make mistakes was deeply ingrained in his mind. Everyone makes mistakes, even me. That's why your presence is so precious. Stay with us instead of our companions who left. It was self-evident who this we was referring to. Although these were just ordinary words, tears welled up in the eyes of several people. We will definitely be loyal to Nazarick and the Supreme Being. The current frenzy was something Sig had not expected, but it was not too surprising either. Stay loyal. Yes. Another uniform answer. Sig felt that this must be the after effect of Ainz's meeting. Everyone was still in an excited state, otherwise how could they get so excited at the slightest provocation? Not far from Nazarick, Sebastian had already prepared the carriage. In order to cover up their tracks, they would hire another groom, preferably one who could easily cause trouble, and Sebastian would do the job until then. Although Sig said that as a cavalryman he also had the ability to control a horse, Sebastian refused to give in no matter what, and Liuxiang had the same attitude. That's only natural. How can we let Lord Sig do the job of a groom? Albedo bowed as she entered the room. Sig raised his eyes, thinking that he must be here to say goodbye, but he still asked, Albedo, why are you here? Master Sig, I am here to say goodbye to you. Please be careful when you go out. Albedo turned around and said in a commanding tone, Sebastian, I'm leaving Lord Sig's safety in your hands. Sebastian did not feel unhappy about this. This was normal behavior for a guardian god. He answered firmly, yes. Albedo, don't worry too much. Sig felt that this was too cold, so he added, if you are really worried, I allow you to contact me via text messages, even if it's not about the mission. Yes, I understand. Albedo nodded, seemingly without any emotional fluctuations. Seeing her shaking body, I knew she was enduring it very well. Take good care of yourself. Sig didn't expect Albedo to change her personality all of a sudden, so he had to teleport away with Sebastian and the others quickly. As for that strange shout, it must have been an illusion, it was definitely not Albedo's voice. Great! 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 Lady Albedo, please calm down. A metal tail emerged from the corner and the demon appeared. It didn't seem like he just happened to pass by, but like he had been eavesdropping for a long time. Hearing the shout from inside the room, Demiurge smiled meaningfully. I don't think Sig-sama will mind. Chapter 19. According to the information obtained from the chief of Karn village, the fortress city of Irantel is the largest city nearby and has a dense population, making it a good place to collect intelligence. Today, several eye-catching guests came to the most luxurious hotel, the Golden Shining Hall. Leading the group was a noble lady with shining golden hair. Her beauty was beyond description and could even be compared to the princess known as Gold. Even her temper was so elegant. Sebastian, I'm going back to my room to rest. You guys can take care of the rest. Okay, miss. The old butler with white hair looked like a gentleman. His every move showed a calm temperament, which easily made people feel good about him. Even so, the people in the restaurant were still attracted by the young man who came in last. He was about 20 years old, or maybe even younger. Although he was not wearing formal clothes, no one thought he was a vulgar person like a mercenary. He should be a knight who had sworn allegiance. Her short obsidian hair was a little messy and curled up, her skin was whiter than that of ordinary people, and her deep pupils gave her an exotic and mysterious feeling. Mr. Sebastian, let's go shopping on the street later. After all, we will be here for a while and we can't neglect the young lady. The young man said with a smile. The butler nodded and said, we must serve the young lady well and not let the master down. The volume of their conversation was not small, and combined with previous speculation, everyone had some guesses about their origins. The shopkeeper naturally made some inquiries when he saw the guests who looked very distinguished. He soon found out that the group of people were the daughter of a wealthy businessman from a city in the empire, along with her butler and knights. The combination of a generous, beautiful lady, a perfect butler, and a handsome knight really proves this statement. But in a kingdom with somewhat chaotic public security, having only one person as a guard is not enough to be considered safe. What's more, that handsome knight doesn't look like someone who can fight. That kind of fair skin usually only appears on pampered young masters. In simple terms, it's just a silver spear with a wax head. When he reached the corner of the alley, Sig suddenly stopped. Sebastian, who looked normal, felt his heart tighten and asked nervously, what's wrong, Master Sig? Sebastian, don't call me Sig-sama outside. How can a subordinate call you by your name? This is disrespectful. Sig understood what these stubborn NPCs were worried about. It was difficult to change their minds with ordinary persuasion, so he said, because you are Takamai's child, I specially allowed it. Is this really possible? Master Sig? Sebastian asked cautiously. Although I got permission, I felt too intimidated without the honorific. I guess no one has ever received such special treatment. Seeing Sebastian's frightened expression out of control, Sig felt a headache. Did he have to take a pseudonym when disguising himself outside, like Fifei? Call me Eli. Sebastian clapped his hands and cheered, oh, is this Sig-sama's pseudonym? It's very meaningful and easy to pronounce. I guess so. Sig wanted to hold his forehead in shame. This was his former English name, which he picked casually when receiving foreign customers. At that time, he just wanted it to be unpopular and the 3 letters would be easy to remember. As for the connotation, he had never thought about it. Then Lord Eli, what should we do next? Sebastian asked. Sig really wanted to curse at this time. Is there any difference between Lord Eli and Lord Sig? Sebastian is so stubborn. Sebastian also had his own reasons. Lord Sig would one day reach the pinnacle of this world together with Lord Ainz, and his name would be sung by countless people. Naturally, his name could not be called casually. Don't add the Lord, it will make the disguise difficult. I'm so sorry. If he didn't remind him, Sig felt that Sebastian wouldn't understand his intention. He might just want to call Eli reluctantly when acting in front of outsiders, but still have to call him an adult when they are in private. If that's the case, what's the point of him using a pseudonym? Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Let's find a groom first. A dark alley like this is the most suitable place. Sebastian looked towards the deep alley. A few meters ahead was a drunk man. He pinched his beard and said, it is indeed a place where garbage is generated. Can you please wait here for a while? Sig walked ahead, his figure disappearing into the darkness. Let's go together. Maybe we'll get something unexpected. I see. It's a mission to gather intelligence. Sir Sig is always so attentive. Sebastian nodded in shame. He had not thought it through. At the edge of the slums, a slovenly man named Zack offered himself, gentlemen, you can hire me for a small fee. I can do the job of a groom very well. After asking about the price, Sebastian turned to Sig, Eli, what do you think? It feels a little unreliable. Sig showed a thoughtful expression and smiled brightly, if you can lick my feet, I might agree. Lick feet. A flash of shame crossed Zack's face, but it quickly turned into flattery. Master, left foot or right foot? Sig showed a disgusted expression, which was in line with the image of a young and energetic knight. Forget it, I'm afraid of getting my shoes dirty. If the lady agrees, you can stay. Yes, yes, I will definitely satisfy the lady. Zack was secretly delighted. The deal was done. It was obvious that these two people were not ordinary people, and the lady must not be ugly. If she is really beautiful, he can also play with women. Because of this desire, he is more motivated. Sebastian saw all of this and his disgust for humans deepened. At times like this, he felt that his colleagues' ideas might really be right. Come with me, I'll take you to see the lady. Mr. Sebastian, I suddenly remembered that I haven't bought something yet. You can go back first. Sig smiled and waved his hand. Sebastian was thrown by the sudden turn of events, but he didn't show it at all. Lord Sig must have discovered something. With this thought in mind, he said seriously, go quickly and come back quickly. Don't forget your duties. Don't worry. After Sebastian left, Sig returned to his expressionless look. He was still a little uncomfortable playing the villain, but it felt okay. I just saw someone I know, and I feel like I can't just sit there and watch. A woman in black robe flashed by, and there was the sound of metal colliding. Funny Sister Clementine. Chapter 20. As night fell, a dark shadow swiftly shuttled through the alley. Her wide black robe was enough to hide her entire body in the darkness. She looked hurriedly as if she was avoiding something. The face under the black robe can be described as cute, with a pair of eyes full of curiosity and agility, revealing some golden hair. He moves nimbly like a cat, but also has the power of a carnivore. Not far away, a heavy footstep was slowly approaching. In the quiet night, any slight sound becomes exceptionally clear, and the sound of armor scraping against the wall is amplified several times, as if it is ringing in your ears. For Clementine, who had rich combat experience, it was easy to detect the opponent's presence, but she did not attack immediately. She pretended to be cornered, took out her short spiked weapon, and revealed her bikini-like armor, showing off her beautiful figure. Okay, let's see who dares to follow me. She was sure that the tracker was not from the Windflower scripture, but probably some short-sighted adventurer. Such a tracking with so many loopholes was obviously done by an amateur. In such a narrow place, the long sword cannot be swung at all, but it is very advantageous for her as a stabbing warrior. I hope this person is not too weak and boring. Well, were you discovered so soon? Sig does not have any special search skills, but his keen five senses allow him to clearly perceive the enemy's position, but this cannot make up for the disadvantage of not being able to track secretly. Suo Liuk Siang should be asked to come, she is a master of assassination. There's no badge. I thought he was an adventurer, but he turns out to be a nosy knight. Clementine was not in the mood, but when she saw the other person's handsome and decent appearance, her face was full of smiles again. What's your name? My name is Clementine, please give me your guidance. Just call me Eli outside, Miss Clementine. Sig was unsure what to call her, so he called out tentatively. Clementine smiled happily, but it could no longer be called a smile. No one calls me that anymore. I finally understand why I don't like you. You look a lot like my perfect brother. She was the 9th seat of the Black Scripture, the Windwalker, and was a sister to the 5th seat, the One-Man Division, but their relationship was not at all good. In the eyes of her family, she was a complete failure because she had been caught by mistake. She was ridiculed and used as a negative example. The parents were very partial to the outstanding older brother. Even though he suffered such torture and his friends died in front of them, they never said a word of concern. All their love was given to the older brother. To be honest, she couldn't really say that she liked her brother who was always calm and perfect with a smile. Clementine lifted her cloak and took a fighting stance. I was planning to let you die peacefully, but I changed my mind. I'm going to torture you slowly. Can you do that? Hey! Clementine showed an unhappy expression. In this country, the only ones who can defeat me are one each from King Rose and Scarlet Dewdrop, as well as Gazef Stranoff and Brian Unglaus. How can a nobody like you defeat Miss Clementine, who has already entered the realm of heroes? I met you with the intention of changing your tragic and sinful fate. Don't think of me as a bad person, Miss Clementine. Sig said with a smile. Clementine is cruel and heartless, but that doesn't mean she has no brains. Are you from the church? The fact that she was a defector was known only to the people in the country. Where did the person in front of him get the information? In order to dispel your worries, you can attack me as much as you want. I will never fight back. Sig spread his hands, with no intention of drawing the dagger on his waist. Clementine hesitated for a few seconds, then licked the short cone with her tongue and slowly lowered her waist. Then I'd rather obey you than be disrespectful. First of all, don't blame me if you die. Strength enhancement. As soon as she finished speaking, she rushed out at an extremely fast speed. The powerful explosive force brought up a gust of wind, and the sharp cone pierced straight into the shoulder area that was not protected by armor. First I'll make it impossible for you to swing the sword, and then I'll slowly torture you, hee. In just a blink of an eye, Clementine's face was the only thing left in Sig's field of vision. No wonder she was called the funny sister. From his perspective, Clementine was determined to throw herself into his arms, but his eyes could see all movements, and after realizing that her target was his shoulder, he raised his hand to block the attack. It will tear your clothes. Clementine was stunned for a moment, then activated water acceleration, changed her body's center of gravity, and retreated smoothly to a few meters away. It was absolutely shameful to use martial arts originally intended for attack to escape, but the scene before her made her forget this. The short cone that contained the magic broke. How is that possible? You must have used a defensive martial art. I see, you must have deliberately lured me to attack you, and then took the opportunity to destroy my weapon. Clementine's hysterical voice made Sig feel a little annoyed. She was obviously very cute and a beauty even when she had no expression. How did she become like this? Clementine's body couldn't help but tremble. The fear of the unknown made her want to run away, but her self-esteem did not allow her to beg for mercy. Windbreak Ultra Avoidance Capacity Improvement Super Ability Improvement. She once again performed several martial arts, adjusted herself to the best condition, and rushed out like an arrow, but what she held in her hand was not a short cone, but a meteor hammer named Morning Star. With her first-rate warrior qualities, Clementine calmed down her good mood and lost the desire to play around, and this time she aimed at Sig's head. Sig had no intention of dodging and let the meteor hammer hit his temple. The spikes could not move forward even a bit on the surface of his skin. Go to hell! Clementine took out the enchanted short spike and poked it towards her eyes, immediately preparing to activate the second-level lightning magic sealed in it. Let's stop playing around here. Even for me, my eyes are a weakness. The golden pupils slowly opened in the darkness, the short spikes sparked sparks on the scales, and the seemingly intimidating lightning only made the silver-grey hair a little messy. Lizard man? No, you are a hybrid of human and dragon. Clementine said in horror. Hey? You guessed it so accurately. Even though I was wrong, I should praise you. Sig didn't expect Clementine to be able to guess his race. But after all, he inherited the blood of the 6 great gods. Although he did not awaken to become a god, he definitely has more knowledge than ordinary people. Sig said amiably, now we can talk, can we? I want to make a deal with you. Although I will kill you if you refuse, don't you want to hear the benefits? Clementine swallowed unconsciously, and she finally understood what she was fighting against. It was a giant dragon monster in human form. Chapter 21. This is not the place to talk. Let's go to where I live and chat. But my companions are also there. You won't mind, right? Sig asked considerately. As a mature person in society, I have learned from experience that if you don't appear sincere, a deal won't be successful easily. Faced with such thoughtfulness, Clementine couldn't laugh at all, and forced a smile from the corner of her mouth. Okay, I have no objection. It's actually much more pleasing to the eye than before, but I'm still not used to it without that funny smile. Sig noticed that her body was still very stiff, and thinking that it was probably caused by fear, he immediately transformed into human form. It is worth mentioning that the transformation does not produce any uncomfortable transition scenes, it is completed in an instant, which is very similar to the game. Do you need a change of clothes? If you appear on the street dressed like this, even a hot beauty would be considered a pervert. Clementine picked up her black robe and put it on. Thank you, this is enough. Sig was a little surprised at Clementine's cooperative attitude, but he didn't say anything. In fact, if you put yourself in other people's shoes, you will understand that in the face of life, no one will care about that pitiful self-esteem. Clementine is not a fool. The other party has the ability to kill her at any time, but he has been politely expressing his desire to talk, which means that she is still useful. No matter what she did, she had to agree to it. With heavy steps, the two walked into the golden shining hall one after the other. After seeing Clementine's appearance, the shopkeeper understood. Boy, you are having fun. Although not as good as that young lady, such a look is extremely rare in Irantel. The customers around were also glancing over here, looking curious. But for a man who is so immersed in women, one would doubt whether he can really protect that beautiful and domineering lady. The butler was naturally ignored. Although he looked strong, he was so old that he could not be considered as a fighting force. With such a worrying combination and employing such an unreliable groom, it would be strange if nothing went wrong. In the corner of the restaurant, the person who was frantically shoveling food into his mouth was Zack. He was out of place here and attracted a lot of disgusted looks. But Sig never even glanced at him since he entered the door, which made Zack feel even more resentful towards the man who ignored him, and he was ready to settle both the new and old grudges together. Clementine really didn't like this atmosphere, but she didn't dare to lose her temper and just clenched her fists. Sig noticed the slight change and went upstairs to explain, "I'm sorry, I didn't explain it in order to maintain my character. Humans are really annoying sometimes." Clementine already knew that Sig was not human, so she asked curiously, "Could it be that Eli is also a pseudonym?" Sig smiled but said nothing. Clementine immediately shut her mouth and lowered her head to avoid the gaze. Damn, why did she ask such a low-level question? Sig pushed the door open and made a gesture of invitation, "Come in." "Greetings, Lord Eli." The two people in the room knelt down and saluted. Sig waved his hand as usual, turned to look at Sebastian, and gave him an approving look. He was prepared to hear them calling Sig-sama as soon as he pushed the door open, but Sebastian obviously heard what he said and even conveyed it to Soraka. If that were the case, he would be very distressed, but now he feels pleasantly surprised. "Well done, Sebastian." Sebastian smiled brightly, "Thank you for the compliment, Master Eli." Seeing Sebastian's genuine smile, Sig also praised Suo Liuxiang. "Your acting skills are also worthy of praise, Suo Liuxiang. I am very glad that it is you who carried out this mission." Suo Liuxiang said in a rather calm tone, "It is my greatest honor to receive the praise from Lord Yulet. Okay, since we're in the disguise stage, you guys should stop being so nervous and be a little more comfortable." Sig and Sebastian are old acquaintances, but his understanding of Suo Liuxiang is limited to what she likes to eat. He has no idea about her personality. He is not a qualified boss. At least you can relax a little in front of him. Suo Liuxiang stood up, as if he couldn't control his expression, his mouth opened to an incredible angle. "Don't worry, Lord Eli. I will try my best to use all my acting skills to ensure that there will be no mistakes." Although it looked a little scary, Sig knew it was a joke and easily accepted the setting, and even felt a little relieved. Suo Liuxiang would only have such a reaction when she was excited, which meant that she was really happy. "Master Eli, who is this?" As Sebastian asked this question, everyone's eyes turned to Clementine. Although it seems to be somewhat useful, it is still not enough to be a slave. Suo Liuxiang showed a puzzled expression. Sebastian was also confused, but he resisted the urge to show it. If it was Demiurge, he would have guessed what Sig-sama meant by now, and while he felt frustrated, he also felt that he couldn't speak carelessly in case he said the wrong thing. "I'm sorry this isn't the food for you, Soraka." Sig introduced, "This is Miss Clementine. I'm planning to make a deal with her. We're still in the negotiation stage." The two of them gasped, and the look they gave Clementine became noticeably more oppressive. One is a level 100 dragon man, and the other is a slime close to level 60, neither of which can be withstood by a level 30-something human hero. In fact, Clementine didn't know what she was doing since she entered this door. The strong feeling of oppression reminded her of her darkest days. He failed in his mission and was caught, and suffered inhuman treatment. He was tortured again and again with healing magic. Because of good physical fitness, this cycle is always long. While enjoying the convenience of healing magic, there will naturally be a price to pay in other areas. At that time, it was the honor of her family and the sense of belonging to her motherland that kept her going, but now she does not have such a strong will. Sig stood in front of Clementine and shared the pressure with her. Although he didn't feel it, his eyes were not for show. "Lord Eli, I am willing to be your slave. I will agree to any deal." Clementine fell to her knees with a plop, the metal pieces on her body making a rattling sound. Suoloxiong and Sebastian gave each other an expression that said you'd better know what's best for you and then looked away. Sig was a little unsatisfied with the result. He had wanted to show off his eloquence, but he didn't expect it to end like this. Are you sure you want to pledge your allegiance to me, Clementine? Clementine nodded quickly, yes, after seeing the powerful strength of Master Eli, the only thought in my heart was to surrender. Okay, but what I originally wanted to give you remains unchanged. You can rest assured about that. Look forward to it. You will become a genius who surpasses your brother. Sig made a promise, and Clementine naturally accepted it happily. She felt that a godlike person would not need to lie to her. Master, what do you need me to do? That really depends on what you have. Show me what you have, Clementine. Yes. Clementine's pupils trembled, as if she had gone through a huge psychological struggle. She slowly took off her outer robe and prepared to take off her inner clothes. Sig quickly turned his face away. No, I asked you to introduce yourself, you don't have to go to this extent. Sebastian hurriedly stood in front of her. Master Eli, please hide behind her, she is so rude. Suoloxiong was also filled with righteous indignation. That gentleman is not someone a woman like you can keep by his side. The noisy noise made Sig feel overwhelmed. Fortunately, Albedo was not there, otherwise the situation might have gotten even more out of control. Chapter 22. Sebastian, I'm going home for a while. You and Suoloxiong stay here first. If anyone asks, you can say that I went out to have fun. You are joking. Sebastian already felt bad for letting Sig play the villain, and he felt even worse when he heard him say that. Although he did not hate human beings as a whole, he was even more unwilling to see the Supreme Being playing cozy with despicable humans like Zack. It doesn't matter. If it's to complete the mission, I can lie to this extent. Everything is for Nazarick. Sig looked at the somewhat reluctant Sebastian with a smile on his face. Yes, sir. Sebastian nodded in agreement. No guardian would be able to refuse Sig-sama's request when he has such an expression. Clementine, come with me, I will tell you in detail what to do next. Sig stretched out his hand to open the portal, posing as ladies first. Clementine looked at the black vortex in front of her, which continued to exude an evil aura. If the other side was connected to hell, she would believe it. With the intention of dying, she took the first step. After the two disappeared from the room, Soraka breathed a sigh of relief and stood up angrily. I don't understand why Lord Sig took that human to Nazarick. Sebastian pinched his neatly trimmed beard, his expression very serious. That human was once a member of the Dark Scripture, so he must be very useful. Last time, Master Sig handed over the captured member of the Sunlight Scripture to Demiurge, but I can only guess this reason. Master Sig must have thought further ahead. Hearing this analysis, Suoloxiong nodded in agreement. It seems that we should pay more attention to the people from the Silian theocracy. It would be best if we can lure them out. We can't force this matter. We should focus on the mission and pay attention to the people we need to win over. Suoloxiong, you also have to manage your mood well. Sebastian reminded. Suoloxiong lowered his brows, but the corners of his mouth began to rise, making an extremely strange expression. I'm sorry, Master Sebastian, I lost my composure. When I heard Master Sig say he wanted to go home, I was so excited that I almost cried. Of course me too, Sebastian thought. On the 7th floor of Nazarick, the prison of fire managed by Demiurge welcomed a guest. Demiurge put down his work and came to receive him, bowing gracefully. Because of the ring, he arrived in a short time and avoided any impolite behavior. Master Sig, please let me know if you have anything to say. Demiurge, you can call me Eli. Sig said lightly, glancing at Clementine who was pale beside him. There is no special reason for changing my words. Since it is a pseudonym, it will be known sooner or later. It may be more sincere if I tell it in person. I don't know to what extent Demiurge can understand this, but he should be able to figure it out in his mind. Demiurge had a complicated expression at first, but soon realized what was going on. I see. I understand. Lord Eli, will this woman be treated the same way? Same treatment? Thinking of Negan's miserable condition, Sig hastily denied it. Her situation is a little special. I will explain the details to you. I want to confirm whether I can leave everything to you, Demiurge. If it is your wish, I will do my best. Demiurge showed excitement for the first time on his serious face. I already know your loyalty, let's get down to business, and Clementine, don't just stand there. Clementine was now like a good girl, having just woken up from her imagination of being in the fiery hell, and was dragged before the devil again. She tactfully revealed her identity as a former member of the Black Scripture and current member of Renan, as well as information about her good brother. In order to let the other party judge your own value, you must put everything that can be used as a bargaining chip on the table. Although Clementine was almost losing consciousness, she instinctively told everything. Demiurge paused for a moment. Indeed, it would be a waste to torture him and then kill him. I can think of 4 reasons. Really? There are 4. Sig gave up thinking about it. He originally wanted to obtain intelligence about the theocracy and find a way to plant spies at the same time. He had a general understanding of the situations in the kingdom and the empire, and had heard a little about the Holy Kingdom, but knew very little about the theocracy. Although a lot of information was obtained from Negan and his body was not wasted at all, the Sunlight Codex was completely incomparable to the Black Codex. Perhaps for them, only the elite can join, but the Black Scripture is populated by gods and men, most of whom have the blood of the 6 gods in their veins and possess world-class items. Let her hear her own worth, Demiurge. Yes, first of all, intelligence. This is the easiest thing to think of. Well, go on. The second is related to Insama. If used properly, Chirinan's plan can become a stepping stone for Insama. Indeed. This was how the original plot was going to develop, and Sig agreed with it. The third is the research on gods. This is very rare material. Of course, it would be even better if we could catch a real god. What about 4? The Church has a high reputation among the human race. It will definitely become an obstacle to conquering the world. A traitor may be able to play a good role. Demiurge's meaning was self-evident. Governance after conquest was the most difficult, and it would be much easier if there was someone to connect with. That's all I can think of for now. Demiurge raised his head, waiting for a response anxiously. Sig nodded appreciatively. I can trust you, Demiurge. It's my honor to share your worries. Demiurge smiled confidently, and you could even see his fangs. Clementine lost the ability to laugh and listen to the conversation in a daze. When Sig left, she suddenly realized that she was left here. She could no longer move. Clementine, right? I will make you look brand new. Demiurge sighed helplessly. If Albedo knew that Sig-sama brought back a woman, she would definitely make a scene again. After Sig returned to Irantal, a week had passed in the blink of an eye. Albedo sent a message during this period, asking about Clementine, but there was no further news. If Demiurge hadn't sent him frequent letters to report, he would have thought Clementine had been killed. They will also be leaving Irantal soon and are making preparations to reunite. In the blink of an eye, a sweet voice sounded, and the girl lifted her skirt and said, My name is Shaltir, and I am here to see Master Sig. Shaltir Blood Fallen. Chapter 23. Shaltir did not come alone, she was accompanied by 2 vampire brides, or her concubines. At this time, they also knelt down, and their cool clothes were almost exposed. Although they were automatically generated monsters, their levels were only 20 to 30, and their appearances were different. Of course they are all beauties, otherwise Shaltir wouldn't have kept them by her side. I like being surrounded by beauties. I remember Pararon Sino had such a setting. Shaltir, it's nice to meet you, but it's not time to leave yet. It would be better for you to wait in the carriage for a while. There's no need to greet you. Even though it's in a corner, it would be bad if someone saw them, after all, there are so many beauties gathered together. How can that be possible? This is the first time I have seen Lord Sig in human form. I want to see you as soon as possible. Shaltir spoke with a smile, always with a special ending tone when she spoke, and her whole body exuded a seductive aura. Combined with her proud breasts, it is enough to make most people fall at her feet. Aren't you more interested in the president? Do you want me to help you, Shaltir? Sig said with a chuckle. Hearing this, Shaltir was horrified. Did Lord Sig know about her disrespectful words? What should she do now? No, calm down, this must be knocking her. That's right, you have to apologize, you have to apologize. Albedo must have used her position to tell Sig-sama, I was careless. Well. Lord Sig, I want to apologize for my slip of the tongue. Shaltir covered her chest and said sincerely, Please forgive me for saying that Lord Momanga is more charming. Sig said helplessly, there's no need to apologize for something like this. Your fetish is necrophilia. It's normal for you to find the president more attractive. Do you mind? I'm a good friend of the president, so I don't take this kind of thing to heart. It's an honor to talk about charm with beautiful women like you. It's just like when girls were in school arguing about who is more handsome. As long as they are normal friends, the two people being discussed won't care about it if they know about it. No one would really be that petty, right? Sig slowed down his tone as he saw Shaltir becoming more and more panicked. But I'm a little sad now. Shaltir doesn't like me. Is it because I'm not handsome enough? Shaltir quickly shook her head and said without thinking, no, Sig-sama is certainly a good man. In fact, your human form makes me. What happened to you? Sig narrowed his eyes. No, I didn't mean any other thing. I'm very sorry, Lord Sig. Upon seeing this, Shaltir knelt down, looking like she was about to cry. The vampire bride also knelt down again, lowered her head and dared not speak. The atmosphere suddenly fell to the bottom. Don't do this again, Shaltir. Don't tell anyone else about what happened today. This is a special privilege I'm giving you. Seeing that she took it seriously, Sig lost the desire to tease her. It would be bad if she really cried. In addition to her special fetish, Shaltir's second choice is beauty. Generally speaking, the closer the appearance is to that of a human, the easier it is to identify. So it is normal that Shaltir prefers his human form. After all, his appearance is set to be very high, and this is also a disguised affirmation. Just follow your instincts. I support your choice. Sig extended his hand to Shaltir. Translated, it means, be brave and pursue love, the president will accept you. Come on. Shaltir blushed slightly as she agreed, placing her hand on his and slowly standing up. Thank you, Sig-sama, for your generosity. Sig took her hand and led her to the carriage, smiling and gesturing for silence. I allow you to discuss this topic in private, but you don't have to tell me next time. Not long after Sig left, Shaltir's wailing was heard. I'm sure Sig-sama will think I'm an idiot. Fortunately, a magic barrier was set up to block out the sound, and no one noticed anything unusual here. Sig returned to the restaurant and found that the lady played by Suo Liuxiang was complaining loudly about the food, and then she walked away. He sat down at the dining table as if no one was around and chose what he liked from the dishes on the table. After being accustomed to the big fish and meat in Nazarick, it would be nice to change the taste. Although the taste is much worse, it can't resist his good appetite. His favorite is the butter bread, which is soft and steaming hot. The salad tastes good too, but due to the ingredients it is never delicious enough. To be honest, he misses the meals cooked by the chef. Although I have never met that person, the person who can make such delicious food must be a very interesting person. By the way, Yuri is a chef, but I haven't tasted her cooking yet. After making arrangements with Zack, Sebastian turned to Sig who was eating and showed a helpless expression. How could he let the Supreme Being eat here? He suddenly felt that Suo Liuxiang was right. It's so confusing. I should ask Ziho Woods to prepare the meal and then send it over. But he didn't know teleportation magic. He couldn't even learn the 7th level upper level transfer, let alone the 10th level portal. We could trouble Shaltir, and for Lord Sig's sake, I'm sure she wouldn't refuse, but this isn't a long-term solution. Just as Sebastian was worried, a middle-aged man slowly walked over and said, it must be very hard to set out on the journey at this time. The man's name was Bald Rovere, and he controlled most of Irantal's grain trade and had considerable say in this city that often served as a bridgehead for war with the Empire. Such a wealthy and powerful person must have approached with a purpose, and Sebastian already had an idea of it. In fact, this is one of the purposes of this trip, to use the persona of the Empire's wealthy merchants to make friends with powerful people, who may be useful in the near future. This is all for the future of Nazarick. At this time, Zack had arrived at the slums and found the leader of the mercenary group, a man who looked very sloppy. It is called a mercenary group, but in fact it is more like thieves. This is very normal in places where wars are frequent. The fact that deserters like Zack can join shows the nature of this gang. At this time, Suo Liuxiang sent a message, Lord Sig, they have taken the bait and are acting as you expected. Sig cut a piece of steak and put it in his mouth. Well, you continue to monitor them. If there is anything, just report to Sebastian. Suo Liuxiang was silent for a moment, then asked, Lord Sig, can you let me deal with that human? I will torture him to the last moment and will never let him die easily. Then I'll give it to you. Be careful not to play too much. Sebastian might feel uncomfortable if he sees you. Suo Liuxiang in the room showed a very innocent smile. Thank you, Lord Sig. Sig knew the reason after a quick thought. Suo Liuxiang had such a reaction because Zack must have said something bad about him behind his back. No matter what, he decided to light some incense for him first. Although it was indeed his domineering behavior at first, how could he pour cold water on his subordinates because of this? I'm sorry, Zack. Chapter 24. A luxurious carriage sped along the road, heading from Irentel to the kingdom's capital. In such a dark night, something lurking in the darkness seemed to be stirring, the grass rustled, and a white figure flashed by. While driving on the newly paved road, the people in the car only felt slight bumps, and they felt as safe as lambs to be slaughtered. Zack couldn't help but laugh out loud. After signaling to his companions in the distance, he happily thought about how to enjoy the So Lu Xiang. This was not the first time that their mercenary group had done something like this, and those rich people were so stupid that it was easy for them to capture them. He hoped that when it was his turn, this young lady would not be as unresponsive as the girl who had been attacked before. Everyone in the carriage held their breath nervously, and only Sig's voice was heard. President, I have reunited with Shaltir. Have you arrived in Irentel yet? Well, I brought Clementine with me. She knows a lot about Zhailanen's situation. Clementine, it would be much more convenient to bring her with you, but she is a wanted person and might be discovered by the people of the Windflower Scripture, so you should be careful. It's okay. Demiurge has already promised me, and I don't think there will be any problem. But don't bully such a pure girl in the future. Demiurge? Hey? Where's Narberl? What bullshit are you talking about? If there wasn't someone else around, Sig would definitely say the latter sentence. How could Clementine be related to the word purity? Isn't she the funny lady? No, I only brought Clementine with me. Demiurge helped her change her job to a priest. She is a native of this world, so it is easier for her to fit in. Albedo also thinks this is a good idea. Thinking back to what Demiurge said, Sig seemed to have thought of something, but it seemed that he had missed the point. My mind was in a mess, and I could only say dryly, but the safety issue. If we encounter an enemy that I can't defeat, it's useless to bring a maid with me. If we just want her to be a guard, Clementine is enough. Besides, it's easy to get along with her. There's no need to act like a superior. On the other side, Ainz seemed very happy, and that was indeed the case. Although he couldn't complain, he didn't have to be so tired every day. After the treatment, there is no need to worry about loyalty. These are Demiurge's original words. Although I don't know the specifics of this treatment, it does look brand new, worthy of being called Zyadai. Okay, I'm convinced by you. Sig sighed and held his face with his hands in frustration. This story didn't seem right, but he really had no reason to refute it. Sig-san, do you think Clementine was taken away by me? Ha ha ha. How is that possible? Sig shouted excitedly, and Shaltir, who was sitting next to him, was startled and whispered, Lord Sig, are you okay? Sebastian's body was also tense, and Soraka huddled in a corner with a worried look on his face. That's not true. Anyway, don't tell Albedo about this. Okay, after all, modifying the settings is our little secret. Hey, President, don't say such weird things. It was obviously you who did it. Sig-san, can you bear to see me being scolded alone? Sig noticed the fiery gossiping looks from several people and said helplessly, let's not talk about it for now, let's get busy. Bye, see you when we return to Nazarick. Sebastian, do you have anything to report? Sig met Sebastian's gaze. I was a little concerned just now, why did Sebastian look like he wanted to say something but hesitated? Is it about Demiurge? Sebastian seemed to have been hit on the point, and a few drops of sweat ran down his face. Sir Sig, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to eavesdrop on your conversation with Ainz-sama. I didn't ask you to cover your ears. It's normal to hear it. Sig confessed, I handed that human over to Demiurge, so I've been in contact with him more recently. I'm sorry to have made you worry too much. How can I ask Lord Sig to apologize? This is clearly my fault. Sebastian and Demiurge really don't have a good relationship, Shaltir whispered. It actually has something to do with me. Takamai and Albert always quarrel, and as their mutual friend, I often have to smooth things over. When the setting was made, they were in the Cold War period, so maybe I brought in the emotions. Sig continued, you and Demiurge are the most similar to the producers. I can always see their shadows in you. This may be the reason why your relationship is not good. When they started talking about the Supreme Being, they all became very excited, but Sig was not in the mood as he had talked too much. Ah, Lord Sig, if you're tired, would you like to rest your head on my legs? Shaltir blinked her watery red eyes, looking pitiful. Sig tried hard to maintain his expression. What was going on? Was Shaltir such a proactive type? If it's because of what happened before, there's no need to do this. It's not a big mistake. I've already forgiven you, Shaltir. But I think it's better to have some punishment, otherwise I won't feel at ease. Shaltir's guilt doesn't seem to be a lie, but Sig can't be angry just because his subordinates think he is not as charming as his boss. This is really making a fuss over nothing. His boss, Ainz, finally, he came up with a compromise. In the next mission, you are not allowed to trigger blood frenzy. Can you do this? Yes, sir. I'll try my best. Shaltir became very motivated and hugged Sig's arm, inevitably touching a soft spot. What is the padding? Why is it so soft? Sig was confused as he didn't react. Sebastian couldn't stand it any longer, so he confronted her directly, Lady Shaltir, you are too rude. If you cause trouble to Lord Sig again, I will not stand idly by. Ah! Shaltir's eyes turned red, and the whites of her eyeballs gradually turned red, and she was almost on the verge of losing control. Sig said with a faint smile, Shaltir can be released now. It seems someone is coming outside. I have promised the groom to Suo Liak Siang. As for the rest, you can make your own judgment. Yes, I will solve it perfectly, please rest assured, Lord Sig. After a brief silence, Shaltir stood up, lifted the hem of her skirt, and elegantly opened the car door. Let's get started. The vampire bride following behind the carriage revealed herself and rushed forward in an instant after receiving the order. A scene of hell appeared before my eyes, with blood mixed with brain matter flying everywhere. Sebastian frowned, thinking it was too bloody. Should we step aside, Lord Sig? How can you be lazy when your subordinates are working hard? Seeing the bloody scene again, Sig felt that it was not so shocking anymore, and his heart seemed to be gradually turning into a monster. Chapter 25. Lord Sig, everything is ready here, we'll take our leave now. Thank you for your hard work. Seeing Suo Liak Siang hurriedly getting into the car, Sig smiled and waved his hand. Sebastian sat in the driver's seat of the carriage. Please forgive my previous rude behavior, Lady Shaltir. It's okay. I am a little uneasy. My behavior was inappropriate. I really can't let Lord Sig get upset. After a brief conversation, Sebastian drove away in his carriage. Shaltir bit her lip. The secret to suppressing the frenzy of her blood was not to let her emotions fluctuate too much. She had to calm down and not let down Lord Sig, the supreme ruler. Now that we've almost found the thieves' lair, do you want to go with us? Although Shaltir's strength meant she wouldn't be defeated, she still had to be on guard against the appearance of the Black Scripture. Now that he has come along, Shaltir's safety must be ensured. In order to counter the world-class items with effects, you must carry the same world-class items. The only world item Sig brought with him this time was Gun Iger, which was his main weapon and could not be given away. The rest are placed in the treasure hall and guarded by Pandora. If they are to be used, they have to go through the procedures, which is quite troublesome. There are as many as 20 world-class items in Nazarick, 11 of which were collected by everyone together, and the rest were snatched by Sig from other guilds after high-level players quit the game on a large scale. The Dragon Knight and his Dragon Companion are equivalent to 2 level 100 players, top-level ones at that. Most people are no match for them. Because there are so many human players and they have so many items, by chance, they actually lose their minds. A scene similar to the beginning of the game appeared, except this time the target was a human. It can be obtained through transactions, but you have to pay to buy it, and the other party may not be willing to sell it. He is helping everyone save time. Since all the big guys had quit the game anyway, he just helped to deal with the props. Except for the world-class props, he took away all the dropped ones. The silver-blue armor he wore when he turned into a human was captured at that time and had the special ability to enhance cavalry skills. Unfortunately, Sig has relatively few equipment slots, and can only equip one world-class item, otherwise he would definitely have to be fully armed. Ah, Master Sig, are you going with us? You don't want to? No, I'm just afraid I might disappoint you. None of these thieves knew how to use their abilities, so they would obviously gain nothing by leaving like this. The reason why Shaltir wanted to go to their lair was to capture a suitable human to please the two supreme beings. If you don't like it, I won't go. Your vampire bride doesn't have exploration abilities, so I'll lend you my familiar. Sig summoned a small dragon from the forest, not much different from the last time. Technically speaking, this kind of dragon is called a shadow dragon, but it is just this name and has no direct connection with shadow. They are good at concealment and exploration, have the ability to share vision, and are usually not too big, making them a relatively weak species among dragons. For example, the shadow dragon summoned by Sig is also similar to the Shadow Dragon King, but its size is much smaller than that of a normal dragon. It was chosen to fight because it would not cause much noise. Before setting off, Sig had already had a number of shadow dragons lurking in the forest. Because it was night, their figures could be hidden easily and they would not make the mistake of being accidentally discovered like last time. How can we let Sig-sama stay here alone? Shaltir said anxiously. Let's do it this way. I have something to take care of here. The big fish has taken the bait. Sig smiled. The presence of the enemy actually made him feel at ease. It would be troublesome if he was controlled due to carelessness. The members of the Dark Scripture who had just entered the forest noticed an unusual atmosphere. There were clearly no monsters in sight, but it felt like I was being watched closely. No abnormalities were found. The person using the detection magic reported a result that he himself didn't believe. With this number, they should be the followers of the dragons. We can almost confirm that they are the unknown Dragon King. Although many investigators were killed, they also obtained a lot of intelligence. As the captain of the Dark Scripture, he knew very well that it was definitely not a human, let alone a Silver Knight. According to intelligence, a very small number of Dragon Kings are able to use human form mimicry. In fact, even Negan could notice something was wrong when he was calm, but he was unwilling to believe his initial judgment, so he came to such an absurd conclusion. The reason why the warrior captain thought the same thing as him was because he had met Senior Faye, who was once one of the 13 heroes, not long ago, so he happened to associate them together. Lord Carey, are you ready? The man asked. The woman wearing the sexy Cheongsam looks a little weird because she is so old, but no one will look at her strangely. That Cheongsam is the belief of the Silian theocracy and one of the most precious items left by the six gods. Anyone who can use it is respected. Carey nodded, yes, it can be started at any time. The original goal of the Black Scripture was to subdue the resurrected Dragon King of Destruction, but the matter of the Sunlight Scripture could not be let go. They had reason to suspect that someone was targeting the theocracy. The order has been issued from above that if the unknown Dragon King is encountered, one is allowed to use all the power to capture him. At this moment, everyone's heart was in their throat, because they were facing an opponent at the level of Dragon King, and even the Black Scripture did not dare to be careless. Captain Shenron raised his hand and gestured, his red eyes staring straight ahead, here we come. In such a tense atmosphere, a figure gradually walked out of the darkness. Good evening everyone, the moonlight tonight is so beautiful, don't you want to take a look? His gentle attitude annoys everyone, and he looks like an ordinary human being. Besides being handsome, there is nothing wrong with him. The captain frowned and immediately shouted, start. He could clearly feel that the person in front of him was definitely not someone he could deal with. No matter if he didn't take action, they would be wiped out. Carrie did not hesitate, and the golden dragon on her Cheongsam shone brightly. The alluring beauty is launched. Sig's heart went blank for a moment. He felt his thoughts slipping away and he gradually turned into an empty shell that could be manipulated at will. This is the power of mind control, and it doesn't feel good. To be honest, allure is a bit useless in the game. It has various time restrictions, and the effect on players is not satisfactory. Sig has always looked down on it. But after seeing the props right in front of him, he wanted it a little again, thinking it would be a waste if he didn't take it. Sig collects items not only because he needs to deal with the other world, but to a large extent he does have a collecting habit. Instant armament morphology transformation. In an instant, Sig's world became clear. Everyone gasped. After the light disappeared, a fully armed man wearing silver blue armor appeared. Of course, that person could no longer be considered a human. Just standing there, the pressure he exerted on people was terrifying, and everyone unconsciously had the thought of running away. Did it work? This is what everyone wants to know. Although this set of armor is not suitable for the half-dragon form, it seems to have a connection with the theocracy. Sig murmured. I was too lazy to change it when dealing with the Sunshine Bible, and there is no need to change it now because the strongest person on the scene is only level 70, that genius captain. Sig clenched the spear in his hand. In fact, it would be better to just equip Gungnir. But when the skill was set up, it was set to replace all equipment to reach the best condition as quickly as possible, and it is difficult to change it now. Failed. Captain Shenron couldn't believe his eyes. Being completely controlled shouldn't be like this, but there has never been an example of a world-class prop failing. It hit successfully, but it doesn't seem to be fully activated. Carrie said hesitantly. In order to find out the situation, she unknowingly walked a little closer. Just when everyone breathed a sigh of relief, Sig suddenly disappeared before their eyes. Carrie felt a chill on his body, and he only had one set of underwear left. Equipment deprivation, a special skill for high-level professional weapon experts, which can only be learned when reaching level 5. It can forcibly remove an opponent's equipment. The cooldown period is as long as 1 year, but it can be reduced by using paid items, and the skill's success rate reaches 100%. Meanwhile, the most beautiful girl is clearly in Sig's hands, still warm. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.